now be sent to the Shannon.
Irish sheep farmers have lost out on more than €2 million in funding after the National Exchequer Sheep Scheme was oversubscribed. Farmers had initially been due to receive €13 per ewe for taking part in the scheme, but that payment was cut by €1.50 to stretch the budget after higher than expected numbers signed up. Donegal has the highest level of sheep farming in the country, with the latest sheep and goat census showing a 3-to-1 sheep to person ratio in the county. IFA Sheep Chair Adrian Gallagher says farmers have effectively lost money as a result, and he's warning production in the sector has already fallen by 20%.
To impose a linear cut on a sector that is in decline, it just sends out the wrong signals to any farmer that may consider going into sheep farming when they realise that this can happen. And here's just another example of the government not taking the sheep sector as seriously, because we have a decline of 800,000 lambs going through the factories since the last 2 years.
Fianna Fáil TDs and senators can expect a full review into the party's presidential election campaign before Christmas. The parliamentary party met last night where members demanded a set date from the Taoiseach, which has still not been given. It's currently being reviewed by Jim Gavin's lawyers. Political correspondent Sean Defoe says it's still not clear when exactly members will see the review.
It should be Monday or Tuesday of next week. Reasoning being Micheál Martin is out of the country from Wednesday afternoon. He's going to a European Council. But there are, of course, those who think, well, wouldn't it be very convenient for Micheál Martin, particularly if this report has a few things in it that are uncomplimentary to him, that, I couldn't get it to you in time and here it is on the 23rd of December. Good luck.
Plans to make the early years education sector more affordable and easier to access will go to Cabinet next week. The Minister for Children is finalising work on Phase 1 of the Early Years Action Plan, which is due for publication next week. The proposal is set to include increases in the income limits for the National Childcare Scheme from next September. Minister Norma Foley also wants to simplify administration in the sector to reduce the amount of red tape for providers and parents. And the government's being urged to voice concern at proposed rule changes for US visa applicants. The Customs and Border Protection Agency is adding social media as a mandatory data element for an ESTA application. The proposal will require potential visitors to provide their social media from the last 5 years to authorities. It's feared posts that appear negative toward the Trump administration could be a disqualifying factor. Patricia Stevenson from the Social Democrats says we should use our connections to fight this.
I think there is scope for the government to push back strongly against this. This is an erosion of personal freedom fundamentally. And so I would be expecting the Minister for Foreign Affairs to use those diplomatic channels and use those relationships to talk about how deeply problematic this is.
Weather forecast: outbreaks of rain and drizzle from the west will clear eastwards early on, with brighter spells developing later on. Highs of 9 to 11 degrees Celsius today in fresh to strong and gusty southerly winds. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock. In the interim, check all the latest news on highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
When you make the choice to join a club, that's when you feel it. That's support. It's felt in your very core. It brings teammates together on the pitch and the local community to the sidelines. The ones who've seen it all one week and never seen anything like it the next. That's support. And that's why AIB supports our Gaelic games. Because we believe support gets you the life you're truly after. AIB, for the life you're after.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning. You're very welcome along to another edition of the 9 till Noon Show. It's Thursday the 11th of December, 5 minutes past 9. How are you all doing? I hope you're very well. It's great to have you on board. We really do appreciate it. And we've got a wedged 3 hours for you. So we'll keep you up to date with all the very latest happenings at home and further afield. We've got conversations that matter to you on issues that matter to you. And of course, your calls and comments and emails. WhatsApps and texts to 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. That's WhatsApps and texts. If you're joining us from outside the Republic, 00353 86 60 25,000. We want your views too. If you want to give us a call, it's 07491 25,000. And email anytime from anywhere, comments at highlandradio.com. And just to encourage the many of you that listen to the overnight replay, feel free to text in as you're listening. We can pick up those comments, right, and carry them over to the next live show. And that same goes for the podcast as well. So there's no excuse not to be part of the biggest show in the northwest. Right, let's look at the papers. It's a Thursday, so lots of them out. The Tyrconnell Tribune, they focus on a farming story, with Ireland set to lose out by more than $2 billion in new CAP programme. Donegal's share of the funding is expected to fall sharply, putting added pressure on scarce resources. The farm sector in the county predicts they will be left with a deficit of at least $25 million before inflation and input costs are factored into their new payments after 2027. On Thursday of next week, Ireland's farm leaders and their members will join with tens of thousands of others for a big demonstration in Brussels campaigning to halt the Mercosur deal to import 99,000 tonnes of beef and poultry unless they are in compliance with EU traceability and free from hormone and growth enhancing medicines. So you know that story, don't you? Many of those animals will be coming from South America, and we've seen, because of exposés in the Irish Farmers Journal, that they play fast and loose with hormones and antibiotics, etc. On to the Donegal news this morning, and construction waste and cross-border man-in-the-van operations are major contributors to illegal dumping in Donegal. Figures provided to the newspaper reveal 608 illegal dumping complaints were received by Donegal County Council's Environment Section in 2024. That's a lot, 608. So that's, you're not shy off 2 a day there. Waste Regulations Officer Matthew Byrne said last year's figures showed a slight ebb on previous years, and while great strides are being taken to tackle illegal dumping, there is a noticeable rise in illegal cross-border activity. Speaking to the Donegal News, Mr. Byrne said people have been liable for fines after booking a man in a van in good faith to remove their household items. We have done so many campaigns to make people aware that if they're getting someone to remove their rubbish, to ask them for their waste collection permit. Does that happen often? Now, you can pass on the information here in absolute confidence, right? We're not here to judge or police. But I wonder, are there lots of people then who are using these types of services in good faith, and lo and behold, maybe, like that dumping we heard about in Dukery yesterday, maybe that's where it ends up, on the back roads, and not just the back roads of our beautiful county. I wonder then how much of the waste that we see is man in the van dumping and how much of it is, individuals dumping. Maybe you have an insight, you can help us understand better. 086 60 25,000. The Western Health and Social Care Trust has acknowledged gynecology waiting lists in the trust and regionally are unacceptably high. This is the Derry News. A spokesperson for the trust added, "We sincerely apologise to our patients for the delays and the impact this may have on their care." Well, that's not going to help much. An apology, I suppose. What do you think about these new policies that are coming into play? And they are likely to come into play. They're proposed at this stage. So it's a new US visa requirement. I think it was only a couple of days ago. Was it? I don't know if I was having the conversation on air or off air. But, I've always harboured, I've never been to America, and I've always harboured this notion of wanting to go, to have that experience. I know for many of you it's very, very familiar, and it's not about fear or anything like that there. I just have felt that America's just doesn't feel as an attractive as a place to go as it had been in my past, if that makes sense. And I can't really put my finger on as to why. But this sort of initiative doesn't feel very welcoming at all. I have nothing on my social media that I would be bothered about anyone seeing, but I still don't want to hand it over to say, look, check out my opinions on things. This is the United States is the land of free speech, the First Amendment. And yet you could be barred from going into America if you were anti-Trump, for an example. How does that align with the freedom of speech, etc.? Well, authoritarian moves by Donald Trump's administration to ask travellers, including from Ireland, to hand over 5 years of social media history has been branded a massive overreach that would damage relations with the US. Under the new policy announced this week, all tourists, whether they require a visa or not, may have to undergo social media screening to enter the US. The proposal, which is open for public consultation for 60 days, comes as the Trump administration has ramped up security or scrutiny of foreign travellers. Fianna Fáil MEP Barry Andrews branded the plans for social media screenings outrageous, saying even the worst authoritarian states in the world do not have such an official policy. Now, I don't think it's as simple as deleting your social media and presenting your phone and saying, oh, look, they have ways of scraping social media very, very quickly to determine whether you were telling the truth or not. Like, let's just say hypothetically, I'm not having a go at Simon Harris, but, Simon Harris, called Donald Trump a ghoul. Does that mean, like, he's not going to be allowed to get in? Or if you're anti-Israel, it's not necessarily, the papers really aren't picking up on this, but a lot of this would be, and it's happened already, where people are refused visas because they've been anti-Israel on their social media. So this has kind of happened already. There has been social media screening, but this would be next level. And I just wonder, would it put you off? Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. The Irish Times reports that the reason for Ireland's high electricity prices is difficult to establish. The Economic and Social Research Institute has said residential electricity prices in the second half of last year were roughly double what they were in 2018, an Oireachtas Committee on Climate, Environment and Energy heard yesterday. Citing Eurostat data, the ESRI said Irish electricity prices have fallen in the last 2 years from their 23 peak, but the decline has been less than in many other European countries. In addition, prices are likely to rise further with more increases over the next 5 years. Niall Farrell, Associated Research Professor with the ESRI, said yesterday. So the ESRI don't know why the prices are so high. Well, maybe the ESRI, now they know way more than I, might have a look at the profits the companies are making in this country, compare them to European profits. Did they do that? Is it possible that they are making more money than the European counterparts because we are the Egypts that just pay? Or is the answer contained on the front of the Irish Daily Mail part of the answers? An average of €1.3 million worth of wind energy has been wasted every day since the start of 2025. €1.3 million worth of wind energy down the drain. And these are wind farms that there's been quite a bit of resistance to, about their location, pouring concrete onto bogs and in peatland, the disruption to the local ecosystem, all to waste €1.3 million worth of wind energy. Billions of euro worth of renewable energy has been missed in recent years or unused because producers are instructed by EirGrid to switch off production. The guidance to dispatch down means wind farms must switch off when levels are higher than the grid can handle. That means energy that could be made with the available infrastructure is never produced, but must still be paid for by the government, right? So we're still paying for this power that's generated, but we're not actually receiving it. This has prompted calls for the state to explore providing free energy or a social tariff to families in energy poverty at certain times of the day to cut down on waste. This is squandered energy that's already being paid for. €414 million in wind energy unused in the past 10 months. That's crazy, isn't it? And yet we're paying some of the highest rates. The gap between wholesale and retail in electricity is one of the widest, if not the widest in the world here. And yet the switching off the wind farms because the wind energy can't be used, that could be given to people for free. The Irish Farmers Journal, Irish farmers were granted a 3-year extension of the nitrates derogation on Tuesday after EU member states unanimously backed Ireland's case. The extension until 2028 will see the Department of Agriculture undertake the onerous process of completing almost 600 detailed appropriate assessments from the European Commission, which the European Commission says are needed to determine whether the derogation is compatible with the Habitats Directive. The outcome has been widely welcomed by both farming organisations and politicians, but concerns remain about the appropriate assessment process and the tightening of nitrates rates from 2026. RTE are looking to cut more fat, it would seem. The Irish Daily Star reports the RTE will outsource production of the Lotto coverage to cut costs. Its Director General told the Oireachtas Media Committee yesterday. Kevin Backhurst was asked by Social Democrat TD Sinead Gibney what services it aims to source from the commercial sector. He replied, radio, sports, news and current affairs will remain in-house. The Lotto will be going out because that costs us a lot of money. And there's a better way to do it. It also enables us to let a few more people leave. We've already talked about Fair City and the Late Late Show. The Late Late publicly, and we're doing feasibility on these. So the shows aren't going. It just means that rather than hiring and paying staff and doing this internally, that they would go to an external company and get them to do it instead. Bizarre story from Northern Ireland in the Irish Daily Mirror. A postman has been sacked as cops launched a homophobic hate crime probe. Ring doorbell footage from a house in Rosebery Gardens in East Belfast appears to show him kicking over a rainbow garden gnome and a planter containing a pride flag. So he just walked past it and give it a kick. One of the occupants, who does not wish to be named, said she and her fiancé had returned home to the damage and were astounded when they discovered the identity of the culprit. She added, "We were absolutely stunned when we checked the footage. You never expect to see your own postman looking around to make sure the coast is clear and then deliberately kicking over your property. It wasn't just a gnome and a planter. It felt like a targeted message, and that's what really shook us." So he's been sacked, and an investigation is ongoing as to whether kicking over this bucket with a pride flag in it was a hate crime. And just finally on the Eurovision, Ireland's not in it this year. RTE absolutely delighted about this. They can take a high moral ground, which I'm not questioning, but also not have to fork up for all the people that go over to the Eurovision. Iceland will be the fifth country to boycott Eurovision 2026 in protest at Israel, its national broadcaster confirmed. The Nordic country joins Ireland, Spain, Slovenia and the Netherlands in staying away from the song contest in Vienna. The others walked away last week after European Broadcasting Union members agreed not to hold a vote to suspend Israel over the Gaza war. Iceland's broadcaster, RUV, voted yes, at the summit, along with most counterparts in Europe, including the BBC. But Icelandic media minister, he later said it would be unfortunate to participate alongside Israel. And they're in it for a bit of a sticky wicket on that one, because they're talking about which countries are going to be in or out at the moment. I have a feeling that whole competition could turn into a PR disaster, and it could be the death knell of it. And I'm not saying publicly here necessarily whether Israel should be in it or not, but it's going to be effectively a lot of people protesting against it, then those inside it seeming to be aligned with Israel's actions in Gaza, and it's just going to turn into a very, very, very big, far bigger than it is now, political football, which is not what the Eurovision was ever about. And you can't try and be all fun and games and camp and everything that the Eurovision is great, what makes it great, but then sort of be entrenched in, politics, which it is now as well. It's very problematic. They've set precedents before with the exclusion of Russia, but Israel's okay, and so on and so forth. So it's a messy, messy business. But it will get even more so as that competition approaches. They'll struggle to handle the PR message there. Right, 086 60 25,000. If you want to comment on anything you've just heard, please feel free to get in touch.
Newspapers are kindly supplied by Cosgrove Centra, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Now with the new look Mountaintop Diner.
Hugo Boss, Tom Ford, Dior, Marc Jacobs and Carolina Herrera. Find all the biggest names in perfume and aftershave this Christmas at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
Mace Ballymacool is now open at the Gatehouse Ballymacool Letterkenny. We're here for you 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Pop in for a fresh Bewley's coffee, enjoy your hot and cold deli and explore our full grocery and bakery range, plus off licence. Mace Ballymacool, your new local convenience store, now open.
For the perfect gift this Christmas, visit Tinny's Toys in Letterkenny, where you'll find top quality toys at great prices. From Care Bears to Lego, Beyblades to Brooder toys, and our amazing range of kids' electric ride-on cars, Tinny's Toys has something for every wish list. Visit us in store at Leck Road, Letterkenny, or shop the entire range online at tinnystoys.com. Tinny's Toys, much more than just farm toys.
Across Ireland, people are committed to securing the future of their rural communities.
Our Rural Future is the government's policy that backs that commitment through investment and actions. The Department of Rural and Community Development and the Gaeltacht is now developing the next phase of Our Rural Future and wants to hear your views on what matters most for rural Ireland. For more information or to share your views, go to gov.ie/consultations before December 12th, 2025. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Christmas is in the air and Cadbury Secret Santa is back. If you would like to send a free chocolate bar to someone special, then look out for the special Cadbury Secret Santa posters in and around Donegal. Or search for Cadbury Secret Santa to find out more. 18 plus. Free service on selected products while stocks last until December 21st. For full terms and conditions, visit www.cadbury.ie.
Christmas just got even bigger at Highland Radio. Not only could you win a brand new Renault Symbioz Techno worth over €35,000, but from December 8th to 19th, we're giving away a grand a day. If you've already bought your ticket, you're automatically in. If you haven't, now's the time to get your tickets at highlandradio.com.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is
9:20, 9:21. Welcome back to the programme. Right, now the end of term is almost upon us for Christmas anyway, and we're creeping towards those final nativities, the Christmas concerts, the carol performances and Christmas exams. So the WhatsApp groups are all alight with discussion and talk at the school gates. It's turned to what will we buy the teacher for Christmas? But should we? How do parents and teachers really feel about Christmas gifts for teachers? And if parents are going to send a gift, what do teachers really like to receive? Well, to tease this all out, Jen Hogan, author and journalist with the Irish Times, joins me. Good morning, Jen.
Good morning, Greg.
Lovely to have you on the programme. Right, Jen, what do you think? Straight up, should we or should we not be gifting our teachers and what have you at this time of year?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I mean, as personally, I've always been part of either the school collection that happens within the WhatsApp group or given individual gifts. But when you sit down and you talk to parents and teachers about this, as I did, you start to realise that maybe it's something that we need to revisit because it's become commonplace. It's become just a normal practice, and yet it's a huge source of stress and financial pressure for so many people. And that largely comes down to the fact that, you know, some people have multiple children. There's perhaps more than one teacher that they're trying to buy gifts for, even within one child setting. There's SNAs maybe in a class as well that people don't want to leave out. And the list is getting ever longer. Who do we go to? So within kind of the school setting, it might be the teacher and the SNA, and then there's maybe a belief that you have to go around the principal. Maybe there's a deputy principal or a vice principal. There's the lollipop lady and the lollipop man. And it's growing legs, and everybody feels that they should gift at Christmas because it's the done thing, and also there's that fear that in some way it's kind of throwing shade on the teacher or another member of staff if you don't do it. And it's absolutely nothing to do with that, because as a whole, parents are hugely grateful for the work that teachers do. But at the same time, they're under financial pressure and every other type of stress as they're trying to get around everybody and all the financial asks that come at Christmas. And also the amounts are increasing as well. That's what, we're in the middle of a cost of living crisis. Buying a small gift has become increasingly expensive when you're contributing to class collections. Having spoken to parents, they're asking for sometimes between €5 and €20. It really depends on the class, and it depends on the school. And if you're doing that for multiple classes and multiple teachers, and individual children might have other important educators in their life support teachers and maybe bus drivers even to take them to special schools. There's so many different layers to this that it has got out of hand very quickly. There were some parents really worked up about the cost, and there were some teachers equally who were mortified about what they were receiving.
We'll get on to the teachers in a sec. But in terms of the parents, right? So you're saying parents feel pressure. Like, say, for instance, you've got a kid in an ENRA or a national school. Is it, maybe it's not, maybe it depends on which national schools you're in, where you're at. But for me, it was always sort of one teacher in national school, or if you've got a younger one, there could be a group in ENRA. Like, is it not up to, do the parents feel that they have to do this? Is that where the pressure comes from? Or do they feel the teachers deserve it and they're prepared to try and stretch themselves to reward them?
it's a combination of both. There are some parents who feel quite strongly that they want to say thank you at Christmas to the teachers for what they have done during the first term so far. And that's not to say that the others who don't feel that it should be a practice aren't hugely grateful. It's I suppose it's just kind of a mindset there. But this is very much parent-driven. This is not teacher-driven. There is not an expectation from teachers that they'll receive a present.
That's right.
This
Interesting.
is driven
then.
by parents.
So give us the
This
feedback
is driven
you've
by
got.
Parents.
Give us the feedback. Sorry, Jen, you've got from teachers then.
From teachers, I suppose they say that they're mortified, absolutely mortified with the presents coming in. Some reference the fact that they have seen families that they know are struggling send in a child with a gift just so that they're not the only child who doesn't give a gift. And that's, I suppose, that's where that pressure comes back to both parents and teachers witnessing it too. It's not just feeling pressure, feeling obligated to acknowledge the work that the teacher has done, but feeling they don't want their child to be the only child who's not bringing in a gift. And teachers have seen that from the other side too, where something comes in, like a notebook or pen, and the teacher's going, I have 20 notebooks and pens in my press, and it's not that I'm not grateful. I was accepting, it in the gesture in which it's intended, but I don't need it. And that child's family certainly don't need the expense too, but they don't want their little daughter or son coming in without a gift. So they've witnessed that side of things. They talked about, like, nobody needs that many mugs and nobody needs that many candles, and that the recycling or the regifting that sometimes goes on. There were some teachers who said they absolutely love receiving a gift, even though that might not be the politically, one person said it might not even be the politically correct thing to say, but I do really like getting a gift. It means a lot to me. Okay. Teachers said that they just love to get a card, but they were very, very conscious and very keen to say there is absolutely no expectation, and that's very clear across the board. There was a teacher with a very interesting perspective who said that she believes there's a competitive nature to this. That
amongst teachers or amongst parents?
Amongst teachers and amongst parents. That was the interesting thing. There was who's the most popular teacher, judging by what comes in, and who's the most popular parent. And one teacher suggested it was even done to try and buy curry favour with teachers. That it was that. She had witnessed it as both a parent and as a teacher, so she'd seen it from both sides and thought it was very interesting to see how the dynamics play out in some groups.
I suppose
the general gist is...
I think if I was a teacher, the way I would deal with it is I would send a wee note maybe at the 1st of December home with the children and say, it's been a pleasure, it's been a pleasure teaching your children all year. But we understand Christmas, there's a lot of demands on resources. So please, if you were minded to pass on a gift, please don't, or say, what I would really love is a handwritten note from your child. Do you know what I mean? And because they're the singular and they can talk to multiples and maybe could break this cycle a little bit. Would that be a nice idea? Did any teacher suggest they do that?
I think that would be really appreciated by some parents. It was actually addressed by one parent who said, look, there's other things can be organised. There's very strict rules around certain things like lunch. They could enforce a strict rule around presents just to try and ease the pressure on parents and families, because it isn't just about opting out and saying, I'm not in a position to afford this. The parents feel this reflects on their child, that their child will be incredibly stressed. So they could take the pressure off, perhaps, if that was something that was done across the board and the children sat down maybe and made a card. That was certainly the feeling from parents, that it would be very helpful. But I would say, again, there were parents who were very happy to go along with the practice of giving gifts at Christmas and I even questioned what were other parents giving out about, because it is it's just nice to say thank you, and it's a tenner. But again, it comes back to affordability. It comes back to affordability and everybody's individual situation.
Exactly, and
I
think it has to feel
and what they can afford.
It has to feel like if you can, you would, right? But don't be judged if you can't, because I'd imagine there are those people, are the same people that will leave an envelope out for the postman and the coalman, because they maybe have the resources to do so, or they think it's important. But then you get people, and we've got many of them up here, as you might understand, Jen, given the stats, who really probably can't afford to, and then they don't want to give something cheap, and it actually does become a bit of a pressure, a bit of a nightmare.
Well, there was one mother, and she spoke about, she has 3 children, and when she totted up what was needed to give to the different collections and the presents, it was €150. Wow. That is no small amount of money. And so when people think it's only a fiver or it's only a tenner, that adds up if you have multiple children or if there are multiple teachers. And I suppose because there'll often be SNAs within a class, there we go, we'll often have two maybe in a class. And because everybody has such different situations, and you just don't know what people's expenses are outside of, you don't know what's going on in people's lives. You don't know what their expenses are. You don't know what their individual situation is. You don't know what their financial situation is. So what might seem a very manageable amount to one person is a crippling stress for another. And that's, I suppose, it should be an unnecessary stress. It is being driven with the best of intentions, I think, by parents, but maybe we need a little bit of help here from schools to step in, like you suggested there, and maybe that's what's needed, because we are in the middle of a cost of living crisis, and we do have families really struggling, and not always visibly struggling. That's the thing. We really don't know. It comes back to not knowing what's going on behind closed doors and how people are managing. And if we can do anything to alleviate that stress, so that the parents and the children therefore aren't I suppose, becoming overwhelmed by the ask, it would be hugely helpful.
Okay, Jen Hogan, thank you so very much indeed. Author and journalist with the Irish Times, and you can read Jen's article on this in the Times. Thanks so much for your time. Right, what are you saying? Let me see. Read Christmas presents for teachers. A caller says, never mind Christmas presents for teachers. How is it fair that so many people in the workforce are not allowed to accept gifts from customers, patients, etc., as they're seen as bribes? I know this is an issue in the Gardaí, because I was speaking to a member of the force, and they're very strict. Like, a guard can't get a free coffee, right? So if a guard, now this was the word of one guard, and I hope I'm not in any way misquoting what the rules are. But anyway, this is what I was told, and I believe it to be true, that they, at Christmas time or on their birthday or something, the coffee shop said, no, that's on us. And they said, no, I have to pay for it. I can't be seen to be taking anything free gratis. So that doesn't make sense, does it? A cup of coffee? They're hardly going to turn their other cheek for a crime, are they? But anyway, that's what I was told. And that, I think, is a little bit silly. No issue, says a listener, giving a little something, but the Parents Association in my school asked for €10 each. I simply said no, €10 too much, and I donated €2. Take that and multiply it by 29 families. Yeah, I would probably push back on an association organising something like that. There's enough coming out of parents for free education as is. I can understand where the association would be coming from, but I hope they understand that for some, that's putting a great deal of pressure on people. Because A, if it's something you're against, you might look like you've no money, or you're tight, or whatever it might be. Or B, if you don't have the resources, it might look like you're A. Do you know, that sort of way, which is unfair. There's too many demands in this day and age. Why would you acknowledge a teacher's work as a parent? Teachers are extremely well paid and only work part of the year. 5 months holidays or thereabouts, people are off their heads, says a listener. Our primary school's parents committee collects €5 from each family. You don't have to contribute. And then the committee buys vouchers and gives them to teachers. That way, no child feels left out if they go in without a present for the teacher. But again, teachers, unless you want it, right? So let's pull the curtain back. Unless you want it, send a note home with the parents and teachers and say thank you, or with the kids and say, listen, parents and guardians, thanks for your potential generosity, but the greatest gift you could give me is a handwritten note from your child. So it helps them in terms of their development. It takes the pressure off parents, and it's a nice thing because you've got one person reaching potentially 32 kids. Tell that lady people will spend the money the way they want to, and that it, end of story. And that's exactly what people can do. We're not saying what people should or shouldn't do. We're just having a little bit of a chat. Morning, absolutely not donating or giving a present. They are getting paid to teach our children. They're not our friends. It's sheep following sheep. So obviously people who are against gifting are more motivated to text in. I think it's slightly more balanced than the comments are suggesting. In my time, it was the teachers who held a school party and brought in all the goodies for the kids, and we never gave the teacher anything. Another, I'm an SNA and I've always asked the parents to donate to Mary's Meals or St Vincent de Paul in the class name, which I think is a lovely thing, especially if you do end up with a drawer full of pens and pencils and pads that you don't want. Hello. This is a two-part story, okay? Here's part one. Hello, I wonder, can you help me? We were at the concert last night and my friend Bridie lost her purse. She had money, cards, license, etc. If you could put it out to the listeners, we were sitting 5 rows in front of the sound system. But wait, here's chapter 2. Change of plan, the hotel just rang and it was handed in and we are so happy. Thank you. Good news, isn't it? So we were going to announce that, but there was no need. Blair James says, great concert last night, Greg. Just at the breakfast. Happy Christmas, Highland Radio. Well, Blair, I'm delighted that you had a good time. Megan says, no, give a gift with good manners and write a note of thanks. That's on YouTube. Who follows up and says a handwritten note is sufficient. I agree, and I think it should be if the relationship is as pure as we hope it is, well, then that would be a much greater gift, I think. Hi, Beth and Annie and all the rest of you watching and contributing to the programme on our social media. We're on YouTube, so you can watch us on Highland Radio Ireland on your phone, your tablet, your laptop, but on your Fire Stick or your smart TV, we're on the YouTube app there. You can stick us on in the corner of the telly. Right, okay, in the corner of the telly, in the corner, or on the wall. We're going to be back with much more after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, with all your perfume and aftershave presents this Christmas delivered to your door, or order online and collect in store. Visit mcgees.ie.
Here, would you look at Eco Enda? He's only after going and getting himself one of the new Skoda EVs.
First he went vegan, then he got solar panels, now this.
I'm sure he'd buy anything as long as he can get a grant for it.
Must be from that county beside Monaghan.
The new fully electric Skoda range. The kind of cars that get the neighbours talking. But only if you're quick. Check availability at skoda.ie. Skoda, let's explore.
Skoda. Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721396.
At Londis, we wish our customers in Donegal a very happy Christmas. We know what locals want because we are local like you. Even as local as Lough Swilly on a beautiful crisp winter's day. Happy Christmas from Londis.
In the old Christmas run-up, everyone's squeezing in those last-minute jobs. Screwfix are helping you plough through them with 24 days of surprises to unwrap in the Screwfix app. Don't miss out on offers on big brands. Wrap a new surprise each day. Screwfix, no stopping you. Only on the app. Permissions required. No purchase necessary. For full T&Cs, see screwfix.ie.
Níl sé éasca gnó a rachtal, ach bechorgamach sé éasca ruchtana oiler hackiocht. Is ein milfunter náisianta nua on inse einer de hackiocht illa an realtas to de gnó. Le breis agus céadach tú takeocht in ein áitseháin, tá sé níos éasca ná riamh diontas, cóirle ilhaint agus golóir eile aimsiú. Agus ná bích imniart mar bhfuil iscad cadtá weit, tróróí ar bhrin chairachú gach céim den bhealach. Tuair cuairt ar nih.gov.ie chun fólam chunas is féidirlinn cabhra. An milfunter náisianta, tosaíonn an takeocht an seo, tionscliftochuid rialtas na hÉireann.
Employers, do you know that over 15,000 businesses in Ireland trust Clever Cards for their tax-free employee benefit payouts? No wonder Clever Cards is Ireland's highest-rated provider on Trustpilot. Order tax-free digital MasterCards today at clevercards.com. Clever Cards MasterCards are issued by Monovate pursuant to license from MasterCard International and certified by Apple Pay and Google Pay. Clever Cards is an appointed distributor of Monovate, an e-money institution authorised and regulated by the Bank of Lithuania, and the business is regulated for conduct of business purposes by the Central Bank of Ireland. E-money accessed with Clever Cards MasterCards are safeguarded and protected under EU e-money regulations. Terms and conditions apply.
Relief as derogation extended for 3 years. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, find out what the terms and conditions are for farmers. Blue tongue investigation ramped up in Northern Ireland. Flight chartered to the US with emergency butter supplies. The most tax-efficient way to buy land, plus your free 2026 farming calendar. Never miss a story by getting an Irish Farmers Journal home delivery subscription. Sign up today and get a free farm bucket full of Irish Farmers Journal merchandise. Visit ifj.ie/bucket.
Right. Now, yesterday, a report was launched, a research report on incidents of death and serious harm in 2024. The report examines incidents involving contact with Gardaí where a member of the public has died or been seriously injured. The Deputy Police Ombudsman at FISRU, Office of the Police Ombudsman, Brian Doherty. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining me.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Right, so perhaps you could run us through some of the information that's been collated relating to last year.
Okay, well, so to begin with, FISRU, the Office of the Police Ombudsman for Ireland, is an independent civilian policing oversight agency led by the Police Ombudsman, Emily Logan. And primarily our role is to deal with and investigate complaints against Garda Síochána made by members of the public. We investigated about 2,226 last year. But another part of our work, which is covered in the report, are referrals of incidents of death or serious harm, of which there were 37 in 2024. So what happens is, under the law, where there's an incident which an act or omission of a Garda member may have led to the death of or serious harm to a person, it's mandatory for the guards to refer that matter to FISRU for independent investigation.
And Brian, just to be clear, it's catching the cases I'm thinking of. We would have a situation where, say, for instance, a person had an interaction with Gardaí, and then sometime later some harm came to them, or there was an event. Is that the type of case that we're also talking about?
No, absolutely. So, four categories of case covered in the report: road traffic incidents involving the Gardaí where death or serious harm may have resulted, death or serious harm following a period of Garda custody, so either in Garda custody itself or after someone's been released from Garda custody, or where custody hasn't been a factor, so there hasn't been an arrest or no one's been detained, but there has been some form of Garda contact, which either at the instance of Garda contact, death or serious harm has occurred, or shortly thereafter. And finally, the last category that we report on relates to apparent or attempted suicides, so deaths or attempted suicides that may occur in custody or shortly thereafter.
So, other than getting this information together, because obviously then, maybe loved ones or the people themselves are very interested in how this is followed through, or if it's required to, is held accountable. Is that included in this report, or is this report particularly just collating all the various instances and providing just the raw information?
Well, the purpose of the report, FISRU has a statutory obligation to promote public confidence in the work that we do, and also to increase public awareness of what we do. And this really is the first annual report in which we'll describe what is a small element of the work that we do as far as the numbers go. As I said, over 2,000 complaints, 37 referrals, but this is a very important area because we're dealing with the more serious end of the impact upon families, upon people that have been injured. So what the report does is it sets out the nature of the referrals that we've got. It highlights the fact that in a lot of the incidents involved, the guards are dealing with individuals who may be suffering from a mental health episode or in crisis at that point. They're also dealing with individuals that may have used or misused alcohol or used or misused drugs, and just allows for society kind of to reflect on the fact that these are the difficult issues the guards are dealing with that then may ultimately lead to referral to ourselves. And the other piece of key information is the FISRU response. So informing the public that FISRU, as an independent civilian agency with policing powers, has the capacity 24/7, 365 days a year to respond to these critical incidents in a timely fashion, conduct an independent investigation and make a decision as to whether a criminal investigation is warranted or a disciplinary investigation is warranted. And that's all done by our skilled senior investigating officers and investigating officers who are highly trained.
Of the 37 referrals, how did in 2024 then, can you break it down to us in terms of whether, how the investigations process progressed or otherwise?
Of course, yeah. So 40% of the referrals within 2024 would be what we refer to as discontinued. But I just want to stress that doesn't mean that there's been anything cursory about the investigation or examination. What that means is following an independent investigation by fishery investigators and gathering all the available evidence, it's been determined that there isn't a criminal investigation that is warranted or a discipline investigation that's warranted. And then in 60% of the investigations, the decision was taken to continue with a criminal or disciplinary investigation. Now, should we be able to view that the act or omission of the Gardaí may constitute a criminal offence, the fishery would then send a file of evidence to the Director of Public Prosecutions for their independent assessment as to whether criminal charges should be brought. And in the cases subject to the report from yesterday's launch, 2 files have gone to the DPP. Should we be able to view that there's been a breach of discipline by a Garda member, again, fishery would independently prepare an investigation file with evidence and refer that to the Garda Commissioner for their consideration as to whether internal discipline should take place. And again, that there's 2 files went in 2024.
That 2 were, if I'm correct, that 2 were of 8 where criminal investigations were initiated.
Yes, that's correct. So when we initiate a criminal investigation, obviously there's a test that has to be met before a file is sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions, which is whether or not the act or omission and there's evidence that may constitute a criminal offence. And I would say that would be proportionate. Now, in relation to the complaints that we receive, as I said, 2,226 last year, in a normal year, about between 70 to 90 files would be sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions.
Are we ensuring that in the past, have some of these investigations been too protracted? Maybe it's not necessarily cases under the auspices of FISRU, but we have heard from Gardaí in the past that sometimes if a Garda is under investigation, that it can hang over their heads for years on end and can have really quite devastating impacts, according to some. So is it the mission of your organisation to ensure that investigations are thorough but do not last longer than they need to?
Absolutely. No, we're always very mindful of the impact that our investigations have on either the Garda members subject to the investigation or in the families in circumstances of even death or serious harm. But fishery has a statutory obligation to investigate matters in a timely, efficient, effective way and in accordance with fair procedures. And so some of these investigations, because of their very nature, take some time. However, the mission of fishery is to make sure the investigations are carried out with momentum, so there's no unnecessary delay.
And just finally, there is a demographic profile that I think is worth discussing of those involved in these investigations, not the Gardaí, but the people themselves.
Yes, so as I said, 21 deceased, 21 injured. Strikingly, there was 6 people under the age of 25 who were involved in these incidents. And those people under the age of 25, 4 of which were under 18, were all involved in road traffic incidents involving the Gardaí, which led to a referral in relation to death or serious harm.
Okay. Thank you for your time. I do appreciate it. So that is Brian Doherty there, Deputy Police Ombudsman at FISRU, the Office of the Police Ombudsman there. Last year, 37 statutory referrals of incidents of death or serious injury or serious harm, were reported to An Garda Síochána, to FISRU's predecessing body. That's GSOC. So you might remember a case has been referred to GSOC. Well, now it's FISRU. 15 of those 37, 15 preliminary examinations gets discontinued following independent assessment. That's somewhat shy there, 50%. 14 disciplinary investigations opened, of which 2 resulted in recommendations to the Garda Commissioner for disciplinary proceedings. 8 criminal investigations initiated, including 2 which identified an apparent criminal offence, where files were then referred to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions.
Gift sets by celebrity, by budget, or from the classic collection at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For the perfect present every time, visit mcgees.ie, sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
My Future Fund. The auto-enrolment scheme is coming. Employers, getting ready is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Complete your profile on the My Future Fund portal in December. 2. Set up a payment method. 3. Run payroll as usual. Contributions start in January. Remember, auto-enrolment is a legal obligation. And don't forget to let your employees know if they're enrolled. Find out more at gov.ie/employers/AE. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Mike Denver with guests Ray Lynham, Claudia Buckley and Jack Keogh in concert at Jackson's Hotel Ballybuffet on Thursday, February 5th. Tickets on sale now at hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie. That's Mike Denver and guests in concert at Jackson's Hotel Ballybuffet on Thursday, February 5th. The perfect Christmas gift.
Attention Donegal, Derry and Tyrone. PD Bathrooms and Tiles are proud to unveil our newest and most stunning showroom in Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana. Located right opposite the Northwest Golf Course, we offer unbeatable quality and incredible value. For 30 years, we've been the experts in total refits, stocking and serving as the sole agent for many top brands. Visit us today and transform your space with the finest bathroom and tile solutions. Telephone 93 95 884. PD Bathrooms and Tiles, where excellence meets value. Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana, F93H10F. Start the day with our mini breakfast at Sweeney's Hotel, Dunlow. Only €10 at Bacchus Bakery. Then slow Sunday right down with Sunday lunch and glass restaurant from $18.50 for one course. Festive comfort, great food and winter warmth are waiting. Book now, Sweeney's Hotel 074 952 1085.
JD Recovery Services, your trusted name in the Northwest for vehicle breakdown or accident recovery and roadside assistance, day or night. Agents for all major insurance companies. On call for fast, reliable service wherever you need us. JD Recovery Services, call 91-39303.
The White Handkerchief, a critically acclaimed stage production. Now, a brand new revival. Experience it at the Millennium Forum from Friday the 23rd of January until Sunday the 1st of February. We must remember. We must grieve. We must speak. millenniumforum.co.uk.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhinney's. Find Christmas inspiration for everyone, from top beauty gifts to perfect last-minute ideas. Visit us in Ballybuffet to explore the full range or shop online anytime at mcelhinneys.com.
Right, I'll get to the weather in a moment because Met Éireann have changed how they send it and I can't just open it at the moment. Paul Walsh joins me on the programme now. Paul, thank you so much for your time. How are you keeping?
No worries. Thank you very much, Greg, for having me. And I really appreciate it. On such short notice too. So thank you very much. And
no, and it's useful because, you know, lots and lots of people now use Revolut. And in my head, I kind of have this notion that it's more secure because how I use my money, right? So I've got my principal current account and then I sort of transfer into Revolut and what have you. But other people now, because they've an IBAN number and all, they use it as their principal their principal account, etc. Right? So everyone's different. So Paul, your situation, go back to September, isn't it?
Yeah, so back in September 11th of this year, I was in a coffee shop just doing my normal thing and grabbing a coffee and noticed my card was declined. Very puzzled because I think I'd just been paid and I was a little bit confused of why there was no money in there. As soon as I went outside the coffee shop, I noticed that my whole account was cleaned. My whole Revolut account was cleaned. So about 10,000 had been transferred out of my account through unauthorized transactions within about 6 minutes. So about 10,000 in total. But ultimately, when I was looking into it in more detail, we could see that not only was the online transactions done to cryptocurrency exchange and online marketplaces, there was also a failed attempt in a restaurant in Alicante. So when I, raised this with Revolut, they jumped on straight away and said, "Oh yeah, don't worry, we got you. Don't worry about this. We'll handle this. It'll be fine." And so I kind of, gave it a few days, and I was like, I feel a little bit, comfortable in the safety that they're, going to investigate this to the full degree and find out, and I'll get my refund. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and within a few days, they had come back and denied refund for all transactions made. So
how were you scammed there? Was it in the moment of the tap or what? Or at some point prior to that? Have you been able to get to the bottom as to how the scammers were able to get such unfettered access to your account?
I've been looking into it. I've had cybersecurity analysts help me look into it also. Um, the transactions mainly were in Spain, and the online payments to the marketplace were all in Spain. They then had restaurants. They then attempted a couple of restaurants were all in Spain, so I could at least trace it back to someone in Spain. Now, I hadn't been in Spain since May of that year, and this happened in September. So someone was able to, in Spain, so in another country, add a virtual card that is linked to my
Yeah.
account to another phone, an Android phone. I'm an iPhone user,
Mhm.
so a completely different phone. Then Revolut said, "Well, we sent you an OTP to that app and to that phone." I was like, "Well, hold on, you sent an OTP to an Android user um, that it was in another country. It wasn't me." So that's where the frustration comes from. They have all these logs. Oh, we sent an OTP, which is a one-time password for anyone that doesn't know, or we sent we sent an SMS. But if all these OTPs and SMSs were going to another phone in a foreign country while I was in Galway, how did this happen?
Yeah,
Why was it able to happen?
I always found it worryingly easy to, when I've changed my phone, to enact WhatsApp, not WhatsApp, sorry, Revolut. You know, it's far more complicated with AIB, which is the other bank that I use. With Revolut, it just seemed to be, right, okay, that's it, right. You know, so where's the word of warning here, Paul? Because we can't really get to the bottom yet as to how they got access to your card in the way they did. But they clearly did, and they were able to take the money, which was very hard earned and was being accrued with a view to buying your own home. What's the word of warning here? It's to make sure, is it, what banks, what rules they have in place to deal with a no blame scam like this?
Absolutely. So what's an important thing to realize when you're opening a bank account or setting up a bank account, and trust me, I was very tech first and I was very all for Revolut. But if you read their terms and conditions, they're in their refund and policy, it says the refund policy is up to Revolut's discretion. If you look at the refund policy for fraud in the likes of Bank of Ireland or AIB, it'll state, right, we'll cover up to 80,000 in damages or 40,000 in damages, whatever it is. Different banks have different causes and clauses rather. So it's interesting that Revolut, when you look at their fine print, they don't seem to have that. So you're not really leaving your money in a bank. You're leaving your money in a tech company that is semi sort of regulated and not really. They're still pushing hard to get regulated in the Irish market for mortgages and loans, but they're still having a little bit of problems there because of security concerns like this. So my main thing for anyone, well, because by the way, as soon as I posted this on LinkedIn, I had other business owners. So I'm a business owner. I own a tech business called Adhere Digital in Galway. I know cybersecurity. We build it in all our websites and our apps and everything we do. So I'm very tech conscious and I have a lot of security in place, but it just it feels like Revolut aren't essentially a bank. And when the first thing and the most important thing when it comes to people opening a bank is the security of the money. So they can have all fancy features and automations and quick transactions, but that's all meaningless when your money is not secure and your money will not be.
It's bad enough that it's not secure. It's the fact that they don't then take responsibility for its loss. All right, Paul, listen, I must dash because it's the 10 o'clock news here. But thank you very much for that. A word of warning there. And people just need to be really careful with the money. To gather up €10,000, you often have to work and earn 20,000. It's like that. Okay. Listen, Paul, thanks for that.
Greg.
Look after yourself. Take care. Right, we'll be back after the news at 10, which will be slightly late.
Chanel, Flowerbomb, Lancôme, Giorgio Armani, Paco Rabanne. Where else but at McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny, this Christmas. Sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
For a Christmas gift to suit all budgets, you'll be amazed what you'll find at Watson Hire. Power tools, hand tools and garage equipment. Also heaters and homewares at brilliant prices. Watson's have a massive range of workwear and boots from brands like Port West, Snickers and Apache, and loads of great value stocking fillers. This Christmas, visit Watson Hire at Lisnen and Letterkenny or see watsonhire.ie.
The Three Amigos, Jimmy Buckley, Robert Mazzell and Patrick Feeney are back on tour. This award-winning show is full of laughter, music and song. See The Three Amigos live. Clonry Hotel, Letterkenny, Monday, January 26th. Tickets priced $39.50, now on sale at hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie, where extra charges may apply. The Three Amigos live. This show is not to be missed.
The Water Stewardship Programme helped us reduce our water waste by half and make real savings too.
When Blossom and Berry signed up to the Water Stewardship Programme from Uisce Éireann, they tapped into bigger savings. The programme provides Irish businesses with ways to reduce their water bills at no extra cost. Register now for this 60-minute online course at water.ie. Uisce Éireann. Delivering water services for Ireland.
Get winter ready at Ben Sweeney Euronics with a selection of Calor gas refills, along with gas hoses and regulators to keep your appliances running smoothly. If you're upgrading your appliances, there's a great range of gas cookers and hobs available with up to €60 of free Calor gas included. Call into Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, or in the shopping centre Dunlow, where value and convenience come together.
Glencar Spar, your day starts and ends here. Open Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. until 11 p.m. Enjoy fresh coffee, hot deli favourites, chilled treats, and all your grocery essentials. Plus, get Christmas ready with festive must-haves, family hampers, and even special hampers for your pets. Convenience, value, and holiday cheer all in one stop at Glencar Spar.
McGowan Hearing, one of the longest established audiologists in the Northwest, now have weekly clinics in Letterkenny, Buncrana and Carndonagh. Book your free hearing aid consultation at one of these clinics or with audiologist Darren McGowan in your own home. Call 07191 00208 or visit mcgowanhearing.com.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning with the Highland Radio News at 10 o'clock. I'm Ryan Brolly. The amended remediation of dwellings affected by defective concrete blocks bill has been passed in the Dáil after a marathon debate last night that began at 6:45 p.m. and ended at around 12:55 this morning. After dozens of opposition amendments were voted on and lost, Ciancurla Verona Murphy confirmed the vote had been passed.
Thorough result, deputies Thaw 72, deputies Neil 64. The question is carried. The bill will now be sent to the Seanad.
A number of the amendments were geared towards providing what their proposers say would be genuine 100% redress. Deputy Pearse Doherty said the amount by which many people are falling short is huge, telling TDs many people can't even think of getting on the bottom rung of the ladder because they haven't got the money. He recounted some of the conversations he's been having with people who are affected.
I spoke to one individual, an absolute nightmare that they went through for a number of years. And I asked them, I says, honestly, what do you think it's going to be in terms of your own pocket? He says, Pearse, I don't even want to think about it, but it's probably in the range of 80 to 100,000. That's money that they don't have. I spoke to a fella here last night who isn't even at the stage of tenders and all of that. They're accepted for demolition. And they can't even think about, they're not even thinking about where the money would come from.
Farmers who had initially been due to receive €13 per ewe as part of the National Exchequer sheep scheme have seen the payment cut by €1.50. This action was taken as the scheme was oversubscribed, meaning Irish sheep farmers have lost out on more than €2 million. Donegal has the highest level of sheep farming in the country, with the latest sheep and goat census showing 3-to-1 sheep to person ratios in the county. IFA Sheep Chair Adrian Gallagher has highlighted that farmers have lost money, warning that production in the sector has already dropped 20%.
To impose a linear cut on a sector that is in decline, it just sends out the wrong signals to any farmer that may consider going into sheep farming when they realise that this can happen. And here's just another example of the government not taking the sheep sector as seriously, because we have a decline of 800,000 lambs going through the factories since the last 2 years.
During a meeting of the Fianna Fáil Parliamentary Party last night, members demanded a date on the full review into the party's presidential election campaign. TDs and senators are expected to see the review before Christmas, which is currently being reviewed by Jim Gavin's lawyers. Political correspondent Sean Defoe says it's not clear when exactly members will see the review.
It should be Monday or Tuesday of next week. Reasoning being Micheál Martin is out of the country from Wednesday afternoon. He's going to a European Council. But there are, of course, those who think, well, wouldn't it be very convenient for Micheál Martin, particularly if this report has a few things in it that are uncomplimentary to him, that, I couldn't get it to you in time and here it is on the 23rd of December. Good luck.
Uisce Éireann says valve repair works outside Lifford may cause supply disruption to Tober O'Neill, Calhim, Ballindrate and surrounding areas today. Works are scheduled to take place until 1:45 this afternoon. Meanwhile, mains repair works in Inishowen may disrupt supplies in Greencastle, Tullyalley, Clara, Ballyratton, Ballylawn, Glencroe, Cooley, Ballynally, Drumaware, Carrotransa and surrounding areas until 6 o'clock this evening. The Irish government is being urged to voice concern at proposed rule changes for US visa applicants. The proposal will require potential visitors to provide their social media from the last 5 years to authorities. The Custom and Border Protection Agency is adding social media as a mandatory data element for ESTA applications. Social media posts that appear critical or negative to the Trump administration could see applications denied. Patricia Stevenson from the Social Democrats said we should use our connections to fight this.
I think there is scope for the government to push back strongly against this. This is an erosion of personal freedom fundamentally. And so I would be expecting the Minister for Foreign Affairs to use those diplomatic channels and use those relationships to talk about how deeply problematic this is.
And in the weather, cloudy and windy to start. Outbreaks of rain and drizzle from the west will clear eastwards early on, with brighter spells developing later in the evening. Highs of 9 to 11 degrees in fresh and strong and gusty southerly winds. That is all from the newsroom for now. We will be back with headlines at 11 o'clock.
The obituary notices for this Thursday morning, the 11th of December. The death has taken place of John Barron, Drumdoit, Castlefin, reposing at Lynch's Funeral Home, 50 Castlefin Road, Castlederg, today and tomorrow from 6:30 until 8:30. From the funeral home via Drumdoit on Saturday morning at 11:10 for Requiem Mass at 12 noon in St Columba's Church, Donnyloop. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The funeral home is private, please, on the morning of the funeral. The death has occurred of John Jack Stockton, Caromina Donegal, formerly of Padiham, Lancashire, England. Jack will repose at JP Ward and Sons Funeral Home, Sandyford Village, Dublin, this evening from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Jack's remains will arrive at the Muff Border at approximately 4:30 tomorrow afternoon to repose at the family home in Caromina from 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. House private, please, at all other times. The funeral cortege will depart the family home at 10:30 on Saturday morning for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Columba's Church, Ballinacray, followed by interment in the adjoining graveyard. The Requiem Mass can be viewed on Eamon McLaughlin, Funeral Director's Facebook page. The death has occurred of Packy Doherty, Sean, Buchan Culdaff. Packy's remains will leave Eamon McLaughlin's funeral home, Station Road, Carndonna, this afternoon at 3:30, going to the home of his brother Sean at Buchan Culdaff. Funeral from there on Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock for Requiem Mass at 1:30 in St Mary's Church, Buchan, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live on culdaffparish.com. Family time, please, from 9 p.m. to 11 a.m. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Patients Comfort Fund, Carndonna Community Hospital, care of any family member or Eamon McLaughlin, Funeral Director. The death has occurred in Eltham, London, of Pádraig Gallagher, formerly of Ardlahan, Clohan. Pádraig will repose at his sister Annie Kelly's home in Ardlahan, Clohan from 12 noon today. Requiem Mass tomorrow at 12 noon in the Church of Our Lady of Perpetual Help, Glenfin, with burial afterwards in the family plot in Kiltyvogue Cemetery. The Mass can be viewed on the parish webcam. Family time, please, before the funeral tomorrow. The death has taken place of James Doherty, Baskell Dlinilili. James's remains are reposing at Black, Carndonna. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:15 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Buchan, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live on culdafparish.com. Family time, please, from 11 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Irish Wheelchair Association, care of any family member or Eamon McLaughlin, funeral director. The death has taken place of Margaret McMonigal, née Quinn, Carrigawley, Letterkenny. The house is strictly private, please. Funeral from her late residence tomorrow morning at 10:15, going to St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. Interment afterwards in Newleck Cemetery, Letterkenny. The death has taken place of Princhy Frank Logue, Glenhoe. Funeral from his late residence tomorrow morning for 11 o'clock Mass in St John the Baptist Church, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time, please, from 9 p.m. to 11 a.m. And the death has taken place of Zisław Bernat, 14 Beechwood Park, Letterkenny, formerly from Poland. Reposing at Letterkenny Funeral Home, Port Road, Letterkenny, from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock this evening. Cremation to follow at Lakelands Crematorium, Cavan. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Hey, looking for car insurance that's simple, fast and comes with a little extra? That's RedClick. Right now, when you quote and buy online, we'll give you a €40 retail voucher to treat yourself to something special. For insurance that's easy, insurance that's quick, visit redclick.ie. Offer applies to new private car policies purchased until 28th of February 2026. Acceptance criteria, T's and C's apply. Generali España de Seguros y Reasegurs SA trading as Redclick and Generali is authorised by the General Directorate of Insurance and Pension Funds in Spain and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for consumer protection rules.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. We're into the second hour. How you all keeping this Thursday? I do hope you're very well indeed. Thanks for keeping us so busy on the telephone lines as well. In the first hour, in case you missed it, and where were you? You should join us from 9, as the majority of you do, which we're blessed with. Thank you so very much indeed. We were talking about the debate that comes up every year. It's about presents for teachers, SNAs, bus drivers even, I suppose you could chuck in there. Whether Parents Association should be shaking the collection bucket, the pressure it might put on families, then the right for people who are well-resourced to do so, right? They don't want to be shamed into thinking they're doing the wrong thing either, right? So there's no rights and wrongs. We're just having a chat and we'll see what results we come up with. This caller says, though, I'm a grandmother and I agree with you, Greg. I used to do little things for the school because I had plenty of time. They brought me into the school one day and gave me a big card that they all made for me and they all signed it. That was years ago and I still have it on display. And why wouldn't you? Kids are so honest too, and what they write is thoughtful and real and, unconditional. So I would value that equally too, as much as you do. On Russia, hi Greg, the comments that Gavin Robinson made on social media regarding Ireland freeloading on defence is shocking and dangerous. Not only did he quote an uninformed, unconfirmed town as a hit list if Russia were to attack, for a politician this is just absolutely unnecessary and dangerous. Now, I didn't see these comments at all. I must have a look. Back to the presents though. Good morning, Greg. I think there are enough demands on struggling families during the festive season without having the added pressure of contributing to Christmas gifts for teachers. I'm not saying I'm ungrateful, but teachers receive a wage for the job that they do. I think people have enough to be paying out for at the moment, with food being the main priority for most families these days. Therefore, I simply refuse to donate to teachers' gifts, as no other professions are allowed to accept gifts. Right, so where am I at now? Where is it falling for me personally? Not that maybe you don't care, but this is just my own view. I'm not in favour of associations asking families for contributions. I think that does put a undue pressure on struggling families. So I would be against that. Now, I'm not saying I'm looking to ban it. I'm just saying I'm against it. For people to do what they want to do, i.e. maybe you might have a child who a teacher has given a little bit of extra time to, right? Maybe it's your child and you go, do you know what? If it wasn't for this person, my child wouldn't have come on as well as they had, or they're very understanding, or then it's up to you. If you want to give that teacher a gift, then I think that should be up to you. I don't think there should be a social pressure to gift to teachers. I think it should be down to individuals, and I really wouldn't be a fan of associations or other groups collecting or setting a figure of €10 or whatever it might be for presents for teachers. And that's just me as I try and be every day being honest. Hi, Greg. Why can't teachers be part of Chris Grindle in the classroom? Or part of Chris Grindle in the staff room, maybe, might be better. Greg, give the child a card for the teacher with a note in it saying, sorry, I can't afford a gift this year, but I don't want my child to be embarrassed. Thank you for your help. Don't be embarrassed. Give the card. That is a beautiful thing. That is a gift. You know, a card, and they're not inexpensive either. A card with a note from the child saying something nice about the teacher should be more than enough. And I think that's a lovely compromise to gift something. So you could even say, sorry, you don't have to say, I can't afford it. You can just say, you just write anything in the card. The best way, in my opinion, is for children to come together and donate a few euro. Anything more than a fiver is scandalous, as parents of multiple children who need gifts for teachers, bus drivers, etc. Yeah, well, I mean, bus drivers, you can chuck them into the pot as well. You know, they are getting paid as well. So, I suppose if you start paying the postman, although that being said, most post delivered nowadays comes from all different types of deliveries. But postman, coalman, if that still applies to you, the teacher, the bus driver, you know, on and on it goes. These presents are a bit like other industries, and tipping, I can never understand why people are tipped extra for doing the job they're paid to do. That's a little bit different for me. Firstly, I worked in that space for 2 or 3 years, so I understand it. The wages aren't fantastic, but I think if someone goes above and beyond and is very good to you, there's no harm. I don't think there's a hard and fast rule in that regard. I don't think there's no harm in giving them a wee tip. Now, we're going to be talking about natural remedies or alternative remedies a little later on. David Foley from The Natural Way is in with us after 11. So if you've any questions about anything that you might be able to take for a condition you have, complimentary, obviously the first port of call with anything serious or any changes is to run things past your GP. But now more than ever, people are turning to alternative remedies to, you know, keep them. So any questions about vitamins? We've had contact over the last few weeks about taking vitamin supplements at certain times of the year because of the climate that we have. Anything like that there, anything for joints, you know yourself. David Foley from The Natural Way is going to be in studio taking your alternative remedy questions after 11. A caller says, I'm just after coming back from a return trip to Dublin. How are cars allowed these LED lights? Even when they're dipped, they're blinding. Lorries have them now too, and they blind you. They do. And often too, you know, our windscreens aren't pristine and they splash out. Interestingly, the dial in your car, my understanding is the dial in your car, do you know that little rotary dial that adjusts the lights? That is designed for you to lower your lights if you're carrying a trailer or something. I wonder how many of these LED lights maybe are on pickups or 4x4s with a trailer on, and they haven't adjusted the lights on the dashboard accordingly, and therefore the dips become the headlights. But also there can be alignment issues there as well. First mobile call mailed, a caller says, first mobile call made in Ireland today, 40 years ago. Hard to believe. Yep, indeed. 40 years ago. I didn't think it was that long. I had my first mobile phone. I don't even want to say, my God, I'm old. No, forget about that. I just want to wish all at Highland Radio a very happy Christmas, a Merry Christmas. I thoroughly enjoy the show every day, from Kieran. Okay, thank you very much for that, Kieran. We really do appreciate your feedback. Right, let's take a break. Unless I've some... Do I have any requests? Yeah, I have a couple of nice messages to send out for people. Massive congratulations to James Anthony McGillney and all the family who will receive his well-earned award this evening. Everyone is so proud of his hard, dedicated work and everything he does for us. No better man from all his employees at JMG Travel. Yeah, James Anthony was in studio with us last week, by the way. Great interview. And it wasn't because of me, it was because of him. Just talking a little bit about the formation of the company, how it began. You know, it was a a food delivery van that used to go around houses, you know yourself, then ended up with 2 bench seats either side. And from that, this company with this very recognisable livery and fancy buses has grown from that, which is amazing. Right, okay. We'll be back with more. Plenty of you commenting in, by the way, about these new rules that are looking likely in the United States, whereby you might have to give 5 months of your social media activity before you enter the USA, the land of the free, the land of the First Amendment. But anyway, right, back with a break. We've got another word of warning about scams, by the way, with Luke, but I do have to take this very quick break, and Luke will be with us then.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 11th of December. Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €12,000 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S9. It's game number 50. The jackpot number is 85. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 45. 67. 23. 62. 46. 7. 39. 14. 71. And finally, 57. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Get in the Christmas spirit with great value this week at Dunnes Stores. Choose from our Lindt Lindor Truffles 337-gram range, now only €10 each. Pick up selected Pringles 165-gram, now half price at just €1.74. And check out Deal 10 of our 12 deals of Christmas, with a great selection of Lego sets, now half price. Plus, you can save more with your 10 off 50 voucher. Make Christmas for everyone at Dunnes Stores. Terms and conditions apply. Vouchers can be used on next grocery shop.
I know what you're feeling, and I was there too. And I know you might think that there is nobody to talk to, but I promise that you're not alone. It was never your fault, and you deserve support and healing in your own time. Whenever you're ready to talk, Dublin Rape Crisis Centre will be ready to listen. Call the 24-hour national helpline on 1-800-77-8888.
Take the guesswork out of gifting this Christmas. Give your loved ones hundreds of brands to choose from with the McElhinney's gift card or digital e-gift card. Available from just €20. Easy, convenient, local. Find all you need to make Christmas magic at McElhinney's.
The 9 till noon show with McGee's Chemist Main Street Letterkenny, offering a great range of digital cameras and binoculars for Christmas. McGee's, the photographic experts, where the best costs less.
Now, sorry for holding you, Luke. Thank you so much for your patience, and I appreciate you getting in touch with us. I think you were listening to our earlier conversation about the gentleman who got scammed out of in excess of €10,000, and you were the victim of something recently as well. What happened?
Hi, Greg. Hi. The irony is, I was actually just going to, literally, as was listening to you talking, put up a post just to tell people to be a bit vigilant. Myself and my husband were in Donegal town at the weekend. Went into a shop, purchased a few things. I paid by my Revolut, and my husband uses a virtual Revolut, on his phone.
Mm-hmm.
And so we left the shop, making our way back to the hotel we were staying, and our phones kept bleeping. And normally you would get a notification if you make a payment by Revolut to say, it's just that transaction has gone through or what have you. So I went into the hotel and I thought, okay, I went up to order 2 coffees and went to pay by my Revolut, and it wouldn't, it was declined. So
Right.
I had a small amount of cash to pay for the coffees. Sat down, and then my husband was like, look, he was going upstairs to get a shower or whatever. I sat there and I thought, okay, I started going through, and just as I sat down, my phone kept bleeping and bleeping with these text messages. Now, my bank notifications started to come through, and I thought, do I open these? Because I wasn't sure if they were saying that my card had been debited. Now, obviously not as much as the gentleman you were talking to, but I've had up to 4 amounts of €140 that says was coming out and looked suspicious on my bank account. Went into my Revolut, there was no, it said that I was transferring it. I had no record of that on my Revolut. So I thought, okay, I'll just go up and order like a soft drink, and I thought I'll use my bank card. It was declined, and the girl behind the bar thought, right, let me use another machine, tapped a different one, didn't work. Put it into the machine to tap in the PIN number, didn't work. So she said, look, don't worry about it, you're staying, we can sort out later. I sat down and I had a flood of different messages that didn't make any sense. Went on to my online banking, and sure enough, these transactions were coming up with different, the way normally you would get your card ending and then the last 4 digits would appear. And these last 4 digits were they weren't mine, basically. Then when my husband came downstairs, he said the same had happened to him. He had certain amounts of the same amount, €140 taken out of his.
So these are 2 separate accounts, Luke. Yeah, sorry, that's one of the questions. Right, okay.
Now we would have what you would call a joint vault, on Revolut. That was just used for smaller bills and what have you, but our 2 bank accounts are completely separate and what have you. And he was sitting, and we were both just getting our phones were just dinging with all these notifications, and we were like, do you tap into them? Because you're told don't open.
Yeah.
No, and one of the texts, it appeared to be a genuine PT. Sorry, I'm with
No,
PTSD,
you can say, just say it. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And no, there was no link on it, but it said you must call us immediately. Tried calling, and it was obviously because it's a fraud number. They're constantly busy. And as long story short, it left us where we had a small amount of cash to do us over that weekend. We couldn't make withdrawals. Our cards were both stopped. It was embarrassing, but it was like, okay, what are we going to do here? So to cut a long story short, I was in my bank again yesterday. They put me through to the fraud team, and this guy, I was in for about an hour, and he was like going through all these transactions. So I was having to come out of my TSB, go into my Revolut. I got up in these statements just to give me a declaration of what, transactions from the beginning of December to yesterday. And he said, okay, so did you paid €140 into it? And I was like, no, I don't recognize that card number. It's definitely not mine. He says, right, did you get a phone call? I said, no phone calls. Like everyone, I like to think I'm well aware of scams and who to speak to. And like any bank, TSB will not ask you for any details when they call you. So he said, right, go back into your statement on the 7th of December. You paid some computer analysis company in America a small amount of €19. I was like, no. And as far as I'm aware, Sunday was the 7th. I made no transactions. This went on, and he says, look, there's a lot of very suspicious looking amounts coming out here. But they're not showing up when I go into my statement. Now, the only things that were showing up in my PTSB statements were the 4 amounts of €140. But when I tap on it, it wouldn't let me go in to see where this €140 were going. And then when I went into my e-statement on Revolut, there was absolutely no indication of any transactions. So they're basically up in the air somewhere with this. So as a result, our cards have been cancelled. They said it'll be about 5 days to a week before we get new ones. And it's more the inconvenience as well, which means...
So sorry, Luke.
If we need to...
We'll get to the inconvenience in a second. So the money was scammed from your PTSB account or your Revolut account?
It was made it look as if it was taken from my PTSB into my Revolut as if I was transferring it.
Right. Do you have a system whereby if your balance goes low on Revolut, that it automatically tops up from PTSB, or do you have to do that manually?
Yeah, I always would do that manually. Like I would have certain amounts to go on, to cover a few small bills and what have you.
I get you.
But yeah, I prefer
And
to
one
do
other
that
question: you know the card number in your Revolut app. There's a virtual card. Did you check the debits? You know how you said you didn't recognize the card number? There's a second virtual card in Revolut. Did you cross-reference the?
No.
It would be an interesting thing to see if they were exploiting that
Yeah,
virtual card on Revolut.
It's my husband that has the virtual card on his phone.
Yeah,
I
but
have the physical
no, he's
card.
tapping. You see, so he's tapping. But there's a
yeah.
virtual card within the app, if you know what I mean. So
Yes,
what?
yes, I checked. Yeah, sorry, yes, I done all that, and none of it.
Wow.
None of there was absolutely zero transactions that were coming out of my bank showing up anywhere on Revolut.
So
zero.
The common. So we were in our conversation earlier. We were trying to ascertain. Well, where did the scam happen? Where did the exploit happen? Is it a case then that the common thing here is that you and your husband used your cards, whether it's a virtual or physical one, in the same shop? So is your working theory that is the point when your accounts were exploited?
Well, to be honest, we went back to the shop just to. He was a very nice gentleman. We just thought we'd make him aware.
Yeah.
And we were like, look, we're not saying, we weren't by any means making any accusations toward him or anything like that, because it just was too much of a coincidence, Greg, to be honest, that, and neither of us had spent €140 in his shop. Do you get me? Like, there was so... And he was very polite and grateful. He said, no, I will definitely check my system. We just thought we would make him aware that, look, this has literally just happened to us. But basically, to cut a long story short, I am waiting on a call from the fraud team. I was told I may get a call today or within the next few days, but they are definitely investigating it and taking it seriously.
Is that Revolut or PTSB? Who's sort of taken ownership of this problem?
That was PTSB. Okay.
Right. You were talking, Luke, about the inconvenience. I just wanted to backtrack to pick up some further info. But this is a pain in the backside at this time of the year, at any time of the year.
Exactly, because we're sort of a bit stuck now that, well, we're not, like, basically now with any bank, we were advised that, look, you must come in before 3 o'clock because obviously their security system locks up their cash, whatever, so it means that if we need cash between now and all this is resolved, we have to physically go into the bank and ask for a cash withdrawal. I was just worried as well because obviously I thought, okay, God, like I am somebody that would check I check weekly to make sure my rent's gone out. My direct debits have gone out. I always do that first thing on a weekly, basis just to content myself that, okay. And I started panicking. I thought, oh, God, am I going to get calls from this one and that one saying this bill hasn't been paid today, your rent hasn't been paid. But thankfully, my bank advised me that no, your direct debits and that are still will still go out from the account. So I was, I was relieved at that.
The only thing is, and that, and just double check, Luke, because this is where I've got stuck in the past. I have more sort of scheduled payments from my card now than direct debits. Back in the day, everything was direct debits, but the likes of Netflix and stuff, it's effectively a payment they take from the card. And because I had to cancel my cards, the next thing services were being cut off left, right, and centre. So
exactly.
Hopefully that's not the case with you.
I have to say, I'm a bit old school still, Greg.
Good stuff, Luke. We like that too.
The only thing on my card that goes out is my phone. Do you know the rest?
I get you.
I'm just call me. I'm a bit still back in the day like that. I prefer to see visually that this has been covered. But it's definitely to tell people to just honestly, any transaction you're doing with Revolut, with whatever bank you want, just double check that they tally up between now and I think, is it just by chance it's coming up to Christmas that these scammers are really, flat out because they're aware that maybe people may have, little pockets of money put away for Christmas. But we just couldn't believe that. Like,
since our last conversation, Luke, in the building and external to the building, people seem to, and listen, Revolut, all they have to do is show that they're taking these issues seriously. I use Revolut. I've nothing against the company, but we also have to platform if people are having issues. People seem to be using Revolut as a safe space for money. So you've got your day-to-day banking out of your AIB, your PTSB, whatever, and people are using, some people are using Revolut as the storage for, rainy day funds, etc. So,
Exactly.
I think we need to make sure that people need to double check that everything is locked down and secure, because we can't have, especially if they aren't demonstrating at this point that they're taking these types of scams very seriously. So once they do, of course, we'll platform that equally.
No, as I say, Greg, I have to wait now on this call back from the fraud team, because they may turn around and say to me, right, you're going to actually have to contact Revolut. It's not, you understand?
I suspect that, Luke, I suspect that.
Yeah, so honestly, I would urge people, I say, I don't care if you're only buying a coffee and you're tapping your phone Revolut, double check.
Yeah.
Because some of these transactions that this guy was rhyming off to me, I was like, geez, I was going from one statement to another, and I was getting flustered as well. You know what I mean? Because I was like, going to spare with me. But he was really nice, and he said, look, I am putting this straight through now as we talk. He said, but there are a lot of suspicious, and I can't help it. So at the minute, I do have access to my online bank, and I still have that access with the PTSB. So I couldn't help it. I went in this morning just to check, is there anything else looking dodgy? But unfortunately, he says, look, some transactions aren't showing up. That's the whole thing about the whole fraud thing. You're basically going to get a phone call from your, I don't know, say if you have a car loan or your rent, saying, your money hasn't been paid. And it's getting to the point now where it's my word against theirs, because I can't prove in Revolut that I received that money. Do you understand? Because it's not showing up. So
that
I'm hoping that they're...
Yeah. I think what you'll say, it's very interesting what you're saying, because I was having issues with one payment with my own bank, and it was not featuring on the statements, and I don't know what's going on there. Now, it wasn't a scam; it was just something I was inquiring about. But anyway, Luke, listen, I hope it gets settled as soon as is possible, and you get that money back, because it's not insignificant
I
either.
I couldn't believe it with the guy on, because I literally had just sat down and I thought, right, I'm just going to put up a wee post, just to tell people, like, warn. But man, no, thank you, no bother.
Right. Look after yourself. Best wishes to you and all for Christmas. Bye bye.
Yeah,
bye-bye.
and yours.
Bye.
Fill your stocking this Christmas from all the great gift ideas at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, sponsors of today's 9 till noon show. See mcgees.ie or like McGee's on Facebook for a chance to win some great prizes.
Derek Ryan returns to the Millennium Forum Derry on Saturday, 7th of February, with his brand new 2026 concert tour. Special guests Callum McPhail and Dominic Kerwin. That's Derek Ryan live in the Millennium Forum Derry on Saturday, the 7th of February. Tickets on sale now from the Millennium Forum box office and DerekRyanMusic.com.
When the turkey from Lidl takes centre stage and looks too good to carve, that's more to value. Just try and resist our crisp, juicy, Board B approved fresh Irish whole turkeys from a Cahys family farm in Monaghan. And the tastiest part, they're yours from only $8.99. In store December 20th. Lidl, more to value.
Ho, ho, ho! Santa is coming to Homeland Letterkenny on Saturday, 13th of December from 1 till 4 p.m. Meet and greet with Santa Claus and enjoy festive refreshments in store. There's also an exclusive 50% of all Christmas decorations in store on the day. For more information, visit homeland.ie.
Wanneer nacht in een boljacht ar Merline, Zora takechtrum.
Ga mag fiesian ar y fyd amsa, e cynio mo cobroem, cedi yna.
Abba go goireach duine broram, dúil an contact a chéanam.
Nu go blocha sé mé le fiisian nó bhfuil féin chochar ar bu.
Na neamhhair de chain.
Nu féin waru.
Is féidir le leanaí agus daoine óga techt ar origin, buíocht, ábhar gáirsúil agus learmór contortaíile ar líne. Ní ceart ghlacha le hábhardí bhalach riamh. Ma hagan tú duine thuairisciú don ordan ar a bhfuil se. Chun tuile óla se áil faoin ghaoile tuairiscí anamh. Téach commission na meán ag www.cnam.ie.
McCullough Jewelers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewelers, making moments magical for generations.
Make Christmas shopping easy at Irwin Expert Electrical. Explore LG TVs from compact design to big screen and find all your top tech and home gifts in one place. Samsung, Apple, Shark, Dyson, Ninja and more. Trusted brands, great value and expert service. Christmas made easy at Irwin's Expert in Letterkenny and Buncrana.
TFI Local Link operates evening and weekend services throughout rural Ireland to help you stay connected 7 days a week. We know life doesn't just happen 9 to 5, so if you're commuting, shopping, visiting family, or going out in the evenings or on the weekends, let TFI Local Link take you there. Visit transportforireland.ie.
So Irish visitors will be among visitors from a whole host of countries to the United States who may well be required to disclose their social media histories from the last 5 years before entering the country. This according to plans published by the Trump administration. Paul O'Kenneally is travel editor with the Irish Independent and he joins me now. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, Greg. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Right, so do you think this is going to happen? It's out to public consultation, and it seems, there is they have been scrutinising people's social media in the past and revoking, educational leave to stay, and also people, trying to just go in to visit the United States. So we can't dismiss this as just talk, I don't think.
No, and already if you go to the official travel advice for the US on our own Department of Foreign Affairs website, it says that the US authorities may ask to search your electronic devices, they may request your passwords, and they don't have to give you a reason to do that. And they can consider activity on social media. So that's at the border. So if you're going through pre-clearance in Dublin or Shannon, or if you're flying into the States, they can already request to do that. You can totally say no, and you can totally not travel, but you may be denied entry if you do. So I think this is the difference here is that what they're suggesting, and it's a proposal at this stage, is to make it mandatory for everyone that's applying for an ESTA. So as you know, if you've traveled to the States, that's the system that allows travelers from visa waiver countries like ours to go in without having to go through all the rigmarole of a visa. So what they're proposing to do is make it mandatory as part of that process when you're going and saying, I'm Paul and I want to travel and this is where I'm going and so on, that you would provide all of your social media handles for anything you've used over the last 5 years. I know there's a lot of pushback on it. I know there's a lot of reaction to this story, and people are calling it authoritarian, and they're wondering about freedom of speech, and they're wondering about the message it sends out. But I would be, I just don't see why the administration would not do it. They've pushed ahead in so many other ways.
Yeah, in other words, follow through with it. When I put this out yesterday, just to get a sense of what people were thinking last evening, I should say, Paul, people were going like, well, sure, just delete your apps or say you don't have them, blah, 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 blah. But I presume, they have the ability to scrape social media very extensively, and they're not just going to have this on some sort of a trust system where you declare you don't have X.
Yeah, I'm not a tech expert by any stretch here, but if you get into the business of denying things or trying to fool Customs and Border Protection, you open up a whole other can of worms. Because if it's discovered, or if they sense that you're messing around, I think that will prejudice them even further against you. So I'd just be careful about that. Certainly, you can go back and do some clean house, as it were, and you can do a bit of digital cleaning and so on, and that might be good for all manner of reasons. Other people on a point of principle would say, well, that's exactly what they want, and I'm not going to do that. So
Interesting.
it'll be a decision for individuals
And I
on
think
that. But
people, what they have to be conscious of is what might flag. So, for example, I don't think necessarily it might be being very critical of Trump, but if we look at things that have happened over the last 6 months, for an example, if you were very critical of, and I don't want to get political on this, Paul, but if were very critical, say, for instance, of Israel and what they've been doing, that has been, people have been, had their education visas withdrawn for that too. So it's not just about, or it's perhaps not even about criticism of the Trump administration.
no, you're right. The language used is quite vague. It's always got to do with security. It's always got to do with protecting U.S. borders and vague things like anti-Americanism. But they have explicitly stated, some of the agencies, that they will look for anti-Semitic communications. Now, as we all know, that gets very political very quickly, and what language is what is always open to debate. But that's kind of the point, in that it leaves it open to interpretation, and that would be the concern. Is that, who's to say that tweet you sent 3 years ago, is how it will be viewed by them on by a particular officer on a particular day?
Exactly, and you can try and sort of say that you can beat it and all that kind of stuff, but the truth is, the reality, the majority of us want to be compliant. We want to get on with our daily lives, and also too, do you really want to roll those dice, book your tickets, and then lose out? It's clever what they're doing to some extent, and Paul, you make a really good point too about people cleaning up the social media. Is that exactly what they want? Because it puts the moral question up to a person. Paul, like, this isn't a travel question, but have you pondered it? Like, at the moment, we have the importance in America of free speech, the right to free expression. It's enshrined in their laws. We have the Americans very critical of social media censorship in Europe. They've been very vocal. This all seems counter, like, in other words, free speech for the Americans in America, but not anyone else. Or you can have free speech and we'll fight for free speech in Europe, but it could stop you coming into America. It's all a very confused message to me, for someone who just might want to travel to New York.
Exactly. It is. I do find it contradictory and confusing. Let me say that. And there's a question of free speech, but for whose speech? And we've all had those debates. And for the tourist who just wants to go to Disney, or just wants to explore New York, as you say, or go to a national park, it's like they're absolutely dumbfounded as to why they suddenly have to engage in all of this debate. America used to be a place where you could go without these considerations. I suppose, let me just put another point to you, Greg, in that just to put it in context, the number of people whose social media accounts or whose phones are checked by Customs and Border Protection is minute. So while the threat is there for everybody, in actual fact, it's something, it's far less than 1%. It's a fraction of 1%, according to Customs and Border Protection. The other thing is that traditionally, I guess, the immigration controls are not about people who are going on holidays, typically speaking. The kind of red flags would be people who don't have return flights, or people who don't have places to stay, or people who may be looking for work, or typically that. But what this whole conversation does is open it up into a whole other arena.
Yeah.
I've been to the US this year, and I went without a problem. And when I got onto the ground, it was business as usual. People were as lovely as usual. It was as contradictory and cinematic a place as I'm used to. But so, just to reassure you, I suppose, that not everybody going through pre-clearance at the moment is suddenly going to have an officer scrolling through their Instagram.
But it's
this
they.
does seem
It's
to
not like
escalate
we've
it.
exposed it. It's they that are expressing their intent,
Yeah.
and I suppose we can only take that at face value. As always, Paul, thank you so much for your input. I really do appreciate it. Paul O'Keneally there, travel editor with the Irish Independent. Patsy, you're a regular visitor to the United States. What's your take on all of this?
Yes, it's just worrying for anybody traveling, just going out to see family, and that's what we've been doing for over 38 years, going out in and out of America to see cousins, aunts, great aunts, and things like that, and for weddings, for funerals. So it is worrying, like myself and anybody looking to go out there now. Is it something? Does anybody remember what they put up on their Facebook 5 years ago? Do they remember what they put up on? I don't have Twitter or anything, but is it something to go? And yes, as Paul says, it maybe this less than 1%, but so where are you going then? Because you had maybe an Instagram post up about Trump or something like that, or 5 years ago when he was in, and did they haul you off then to a jail? What rights have we, and what way you protected if you're travelling under that? I know at the moment it's voluntary to say with Facebook and things if you're going applying for your ESTA, and the next one is going to be mandatory. So it is. It's going to be mandatory. You have to fill this in, just going as a holidaymaker or just going out to see family, and that's the majority of people do.
Yeah, and it makes you pause, doesn't it? Because you can sort of play it down. Not you, can play it down as much as you like, but they are looking. They're looking as a like refusing it. They're looking at it as a condition of entry. Sorry, is what I'm saying. So and you don't know really. Until you get to the boarding gate, you probably don't know what they've made of your social media.
I would hopefully maybe the time you apply online, and maybe when you go into Dublin, you have to go to the pre-clearance and down in there. You wouldn't have to travel. They'd probably turn you back in Ireland. But the fact is that I have flights booked now for June for a family wedding, and that's going to be, it is worrying. What do you do? And I've been speaking to cousins in America last night, and they're just dumbfounded by this again. It's another action of Trump. Just because we might criticise Trump about his giving money to Israel, and you see the state of Israel and what they're doing to Palestine, and what he's doing in America itself, it is just crazy at the moment.
Yeah, but there's so many there's so many big exactly an opinion, because it's not just necessarily being anti-Israel. You could be anti. No. What if your views don't align with certain states' rules on abortion or transgender identity or Russia or? It leaves it really, really open. Patsy, thank you. I'm sure you'll get there and have a fantastic time, Patsy. I appreciate it. Tony is online too. Hi, Tony. What's your views on all of this?
Good morning, Greg. How you doing? I suppose people are well within their right to be concerned if they're travelling to America. I'm going to be travelling to a security-related event next August in Los Angeles and Las Vegas, and it would have notoriety worldwide in the security sphere. And I'm certainly not worried anyway. I actually have some very good contacts in the security industry that work on a global scale. And I suppose, you're always a bit apprehensive, but the basics of a thing, and it's not to scaremonger, it's not the intent, is if you're very concerned about your data or your privacy or bringing untoward on yourself with the administration in certain countries, particularly the United States at this time, my advice to anyone would be that you bring what's known as a burner phone and you print all the documentation that you need. That way it puts a barrier of protection between you and the administration of a foreign entity.
But in saying that, what you're saying, Tony, I get what you're saying, but what you're advising is good, but that means you're not posting to Instagram on your holidays, you're not sending snaps to people. Like, it's crazy that that's the workaround. Because if you found then in possession of a device that does have these apps on after declaring your burner, you're looking to circumvent immigration or security policy. Like, it's crazy that will get you in, but don't post a picture of yourself at the Grand Canyon on Instagram.
Yeah, look, it's a sensitive area. Like, what is the outcome? I know, and it wouldn't be if you've followed things as closely as individuals like myself over recent times, given the recent run of form of the administration in the United States. The Grand Canyon is a very politically sensitive area in particular. I would follow a lot of drone activity for security in the United States, and it's nothing new, is what I would have to say to you. it's always been a contentious point, the Grand Canyon, for many aspects. Even like people getting into difficulty in the Grand Canyon, the administration just want to fully control what you might think you might be entitled to do.
Yeah,
or
it's just what effect it might have is control what people post about America, other geopolitical situations. Is this in a way a means of suppressing anything anti-America, anything anti-Israel, anything anti-Trump administration? Is that the real effect, that people start being really conscious of what they post on social media because they're afraid they might not be able to get into America? Like, maybe that's what this is actually about, and not truly about border screening.
Yeah, well, like, the percentages, I suppose, speak for themselves, but in the broad scheme of things, unless you're defacing the administration in a serious way, I would think, there'd be little regard for concern. I don't think you think you could carry on living your life. If you're traveling to America and you're following the policies and procedures, you're not bringing the administration into disregard, let's say, or bringing disregard on yourself in an indirect way or direct way.
Yeah.
If you're not an activist type person as well, not to disrespect the communities that are engaged on things, I suppose, on a global scale, and the other sensitivities that come along with that. I would say if you're posting a photo, who's to say otherwise?
All right, Tony.
You're at a location.
Yeah, it's an interesting insight. Thank you very much. Enjoy your trip over there. I know it's work. I hope there's a bit of pleasure in there as well. Back with more after, back with the weather and news after this break.
Think outside the box with your photos this Christmas for canvas prints, Instablocks, mugs and photo books at mcgee's.ie. McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
The Three Amigos, Jimmy Buckley, Robert Mazzell and Patrick Feeney are back on tour. This award-winning show is full of laughter, music and song. See The Three Amigos live. Clonry Hotel, Letterkenny, Monday, January 26th. Tickets priced $39.50, now on sale at hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie, where extra charges may apply. The Three Amigos live. This show is not to be missed.
Give the gift of comfort and hope to those who need it this Christmas with a Trócaire gift of change. Visit trócaire.org/gifts or call 1800 408 408 to buy a gift and change a life. Trócaire, together for a just world.
Christmas has arrived at Patterson's. Christmas trees and decorations now on display. Christmas gifts from Hollywood mirrors to wall art to home fragrances. You'll find the perfect gift at Patterson's. Large range of dining tables and chairs, sofas, mattresses and bedroom furniture in stock and ready to take home today. Open Monday to Saturday 9 to 5:30 p.m. Coffee shop open on the first floor, serving hot lunches and free coffee. Patterson's, the Hall, Lifford, for everything you need this Christmas.
An rá is agat go bhfuil cuacht ar leith agin go léir? Tá chuacht agan ar rá chur an úil ar muintear agus dar garda nolog trí chóirta lábhscríofa I cheolach acu. Is féidir le dríocht a cheola áitir be ach leabhar an stampí nolog a bheith agat. Is féidir le stampí a cheannach ag difig puist áitiúil nó iad a cheannach ar líne agus béis siad agat an lád ar gcionn le seachada an aisce. Seol grán an nolog ó do chrí aniu. An post, seol an grá. Chun tuile óla se áil te chuig onpost.com/Christmas.
Get in the Christmas spirit with great value this week at Dunnes Stores. Choose from our Lindt Lindor Truffles 337-gram range, now only €10 each. Pick up selected Pringles 165-gram, now half price at just €1.74. And check out Deal 10 of our 12 deals of Christmas, with a great selection of Lego sets, now half price. Plus, you can save more with your 10 off 50 voucher. Make Christmas for everyone at Dunnes Stores. Terms and conditions apply. Vouchers can be used on next grocery shop.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhinney's. Find Christmas inspiration for everyone, from top beauty gifts to perfect last-minute ideas. Visit us in Ballybuffet to explore the full range or shop online anytime at mcelhinneys.com.
So breaks of rain and drizzle from the west will clear eastwards early on, with bright spells developing later in the evening. Highs of 9 to 11 degrees in fresh to strong and gusty southerly winds.
with all the stories that matter across the Northwest. It's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It is 11 o'clock, time for a news update, and it's good morning once again to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The latest amended defective blocks bill passed through the remaining stages in the Dáil last night. It's now being sent to the Seanad. During the debate, Donegal TD Pat the Cub Gallagher said he could vote against his party, Fianna Fáil, but he believes he can serve the people of Donegal better by working with the government to secure more improvements. Deputy Gallagher said he could try to appear to be the hero and vote against, as someone else did previously, before evaporating. Deputy Gallagher named no names, but in 2022, former Deputy and Minister Joe McHugh lost the Fine Gael whip after voting against the previous bill. Farmers who had initially been due to receive €13 per head as part of the National Exchequer Sheep Scheme have seen the payment cut by $150 per head. The action was taken as the scheme was oversubscribed. That means Irish sheep farmers have lost out on more than €2 million. Donegal has the highest level of sheep farming in the country, with a census showing a 3-to-1 sheep to person ratio in the county. Figures from the INMO show that 70 people in the northwest were awaiting hospital beds this morning, having already been admitted to hospital. 34 in that situation at Letterkenny University Hospital, 36 in Sligo. The highest figure for a single hospital in the state was registered in Cork at 57. Limerick was one behind on 56. During a meeting of the Fianna Fáil Parliamentary Party last night, members demanded an update on the full review into the party's presidential election campaign and a date for its publication. They weren't given a date, but again, they were promised it would be before Christmas. TDs and senators are awaiting the review. It's currently being reviewed by Jim Gavin's lawyers. An estimated 58 people experiencing homelessness died in Northern Ireland last year. Just yesterday, a homeless man was found dead in Belfast city centre. The report shows the highest death rate was registered in the Derry City and Strabane council area. And the Irish government is being urged to voice concern at proposed rule changes for US visa applicants. The proposal would require potential visitors to provide their social media from the last 5 years to authorities. The Customs and Border Protection Agency is adding social media as a mandatory data element for an ESTA application. It's feared social media posts that appear critical or negative to the Trump administration could see applications denied. And we're back with headlines again at 12 noon.
Thanks very much, Donald. We'll be back with the final hour of today's 9 till noon show after we take a break.
Hugo Boss, Tom Ford, Dior, Marc Jacobs and Carolina Herrera. Find all the biggest names in perfume and aftershave this Christmas at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
It's not Christmas without fighting over tangled lights and making up while putting the star on top. Without hearing about fairy tales in New York, hearing there's one for everyone in the audience, or hearing Dad say, that's it for another year. It's not Christmas without him, or her, or them. Without cracking open the good biscuits, the tin of Jacobs that's supposed to be kept for the visitors, but is best shared with those you love. Jacobs, at the heart of every Irish Christmas.
Discover your favourite brands this holiday season at Evolve Clothing. Whether it's Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfiger or more, you'll find the perfect festive look waiting for you. With 1,800 free parking spaces at Letterkenny Retail Park, holiday shopping has never been easier.
The Ford 261 sales event is now on at Hegarty's Ford Letterkenny. Discover incredible savings across Ford's electrified range, including the new Ford Puma Gen E, the iconic Ford Capri, and the fantastic new Ford Explorer. All with a free home charger and a free 5-year service plan. And available now with 0% finance. Call into Hegarty's Ford, Kilmacrennan Road, Letterkenny. For full details, see hegartys.com.
Mike Denver with guests Ray Lynham, Claudia Buckley and Jack Keogh in concert at Jackson's Hotel Ballybuffet on Thursday, February 5th. Tickets on sale now at hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie. That's Mike Denver and guests in concert at Jackson's Hotel Ballybuffet on Thursday, February 5th. The perfect Christmas gift.
Relive the magic this December at Century Cinemas. We're bringing back your Christmas favourites, Home Alone, Elf, and celebrating the 25th anniversary of The Grinch. Plus, catch Love Actually, The Holiday, and the ultimate action classic, Die Hard. All tickets are available now. Visit centurycinemas.ie or call 074 9121976.
Nights with friends, Centra Bite, tiny vol au vents. Festive drinks, cheesy Bordeaux, and that gift that you forgot. You log cakes, cookies, milk, Santa's on his way. For all you need this season, Centra's never far away. Centra, live every day.
If you love amazing Christmas value, you'll love Aldi's Board Beer Quality Assured Fresh Whole Irish Turkeys from $8.99. In store from December 20th. Ready to crown the Christmas table. Our festive frozen party food, including southern fried chicken bites, 12 duck spring rolls, and a vegan party selection, all at just $1.99. That'll get you in the party mood. If you love Christmas, you'll love Aldi. While stocks last.
Now, we're joined in programme with David Foley, consultant medical herbalist, taking your questions on alternative medicines. David, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
So just remind us of where sort of herbal medicine sits in the. I know we've raked over this ground previously, but it's no harm just where it sits in the.
Well, some people alternative complementary. Complementary is a nice word. I feel. Rather than alternative, because it does complement the rest of the. There isn't just one particular type of medicine. Like our medicine can be our food, for example. So
and also too, you don't want to set it up as an alternative to important medicines that someone might be prescribed to.
You wouldn't be going to a herbalist if you had a heart attack or broke your leg.
No, of course not. I was chatting to someone recently, very bad sinuses, pain, persistent heaviness in the head, had a course of antibiotics, the nasal sprays, offers some relief, still getting it checked out, of course. But, over the counter or prescribed medicine, not really shifting the sensitivity and that sense of fullness, etc. Is there anything one
absolutely.
can take for that?
This is one of the things that actually it's very good herbal medicine is that actually sinusitis and chronic sinusitis in particular. Often people get sinuses maybe, and diet plays a factor too. So it's too much sugar, too much dairy, now can clog up the mucus. Or it could be allergies, it could be allergic to a particular thing like house dust, mite, dog, whatever.
Which can come at any stage in life as
any
well.
Stage, any time of life, you could develop at any stage. So, the extra mucus gets caught up in the sinuses and can become infected. So antibiotics are used, but often what you'll find is like if they're getting it again and again, the antibiotics kill off the bacteria, but actually ends up a fungal infection, and that's very hard to shift, when antibiotics don't have any effect on that. So often if it's chronic sinusitis, the herbs are brilliant for that. They are really clear. We have herbs that really just open up the nose, and really clear out the sinuses, but also deal with what's more importantly, the underlying conditions. So if it's allergies, for instance, astragalus, herbs like that can actually, get the immune system, reishi mushrooms, another one, they get the immune system to actually change so that in actual fact you're not allergic to that thing. I mean, if you're young, like if you're at my age, like if you're in the later years, it's hard to remove an allergy.
But if it's not, say for instance, you're not treating the allergy as such, which you should always. What would offer relief for the sinuses?
Well, you see, I do the two at the same time. This is what we do. We have mixtures there that actually would do. So we would treat it, give herbs for the immune system if it was an allergy, for example, or even sometimes when it often is an allergy. But the herbs will help the immune system deal with that, so that in actual fact you're less allergic and maybe become completely not allergic to that particular substance. But also the herbs can open up the nose, clear out the sinuses, Like you can imagine, when you go to a sushi bar, you'll get horseradish and you get ginger. If you eat horseradish, immediately it goes to your nose, doesn't it? You eat the ginger, it goes immediately to your stomach. It's like that, herbs certain herbs will go to certain areas of the body. So horseradish is actually one of the herbs we would use to clear up the sinuses, opens the nose.
And you consume that?
Yeah. Well, we usually have a combination maybe of herbs is brilliant for that. We have combinations of herbs.
But with something so common, it's tried and tested.
Oh, absolutely!
I'd say you'd have a lot of people coming in with unresolved sinuses.
We get lots of people because it's one of the things that actually modern medicine, maybe not its best thing, that they're treated. Often has difficulty treating that. Same with say sinusitis, like
I've
allergies.
had it before, and it stuck around, and this sense of fullness and almost like cloudy thinking. It's a horrible.
Oh, it's a horrible feeling. It's a horrible feeling. If it becomes infected, it's quite dangerous. And as I say, these herbs are very simple and they're cleared out. And maybe if it's an allergy, you can deal with that. Also, hay fever is another thing that comes from allergies. It can be all blocked up too. So we did again things like reishi mushrooms. As you get the immune system, they actually get the immune system to deal with. So you're not allergic to it.
Yeah, I guess you.
And if you get a 20-year-old or a younger, even in 30s, you can actually, after 2 or 3, seasons of like hay fever, taking reishi mushroom, the allergy's gone, goes away. So it's quite amazing.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
A persistent cough. I've tried everything and antibiotics, and nothing is clearing it. Now, a lot of these questions, we are presuming that they've been to their GP,
Yeah,
right? Because
absolutely.
if you have a persistent cough, that would be a red flag. So we're presuming they've tried, they've had antibiotics, they've been dealing with their GP, right? So with that being said, anything that could help?
Well, again, it's actually, this is one of the things. It's funny, as being a long time a herbalist, when I started off herbal medicine, we didn't see these persistent cough as much as we're seeing them today, and I don't know why it is. Maybe it's like over the years we've become less antibiotics less useful. Let's put it that way, and it's often a subclinical infection. So it's the infection, but it's subclinical, it can't be picked up. So that kind of causes a persistent cough. Also tiredness and weakness, because you're just bothered. We have a particular combination of herbs with a tiny little bit of ginseng in it, which is really great. It gets the immune system up. That particular one is very good for that one. It's botanical syrup, we call it. Like it's actually very good to actually relieve that type of cough. It
gives you relief in the moment as well.
Gives you relief in the moment. It's a normal cough bottle, but we added in a little bit of licorice and ginseng, which just gives the immune system a little bit pick up, and it gets rid of it.
Gout,
obviously gout, and I'm sure like all these, as you said, most people have been with their GPs.
But you're looking at, if you go to your GP and you're getting acute flare-ups, you're on a tablet for life, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So I don't know what.
Yeah, well, the diet, obviously, because the vintage, they know the diet, they know what they shouldn't be.
Some of us just get this citric acid peak, not citric acid, uric acid peak.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, the thing is, like, there's some very simple things, like cherry juice, red cherry juice, excellent. Also celery seed, but you have to be careful with celery seed. So you wouldn't want to take celery seed they're going to use for sowing, because there's insecticides and things like that. You can get celery seed in the health food shop, and just a teaspoon of celery seed into boiling water and drink that every day, and that actually helps it get rid of their acid. Flushes it out.
So,
exactly.
I mean, I'm actually on a tablet for gout. Now, my diet is not excessive. I don't drink red wine. I don't drink much alcohol, right? So. And I'm not saying my diet's fantastic, but it's less likely. I'm not Henry VIII, right? That's all I'm saying, okay? And I've been put on this tablet, and I don't really mind it. It's not an inconvenience, but I would like to try something more natural. But at the same time, I don't want to discontinue using the tablet and risk a flare-up,
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
But I think certainly if you are at that point where you're going back to the doctor a couple of times, they're waiting to see if lifestyle changes will reduce it. That's a really good time, I think, to maybe try some alternative, some complementary remedies,
because like celery seed is just, but it does have that ability. Our cherry juice, those two things really have an amazing effect because it's just genetically your way you're made. It's just
the genetics went in our family sort of the other way because I used to get bad flare-ups before I got it treated, and I'd be out socialising with my dad or whatever, and I'd be limping, and he always thought this was great crack, that he was healthy and I was limping, and lo and behold, then God rest him. Lo and behold, then one day I noticed he was limping. I was like, "What's going on with you then?" It's all nothing. I think I might have turned my ankle. And well, eventually, 3 pints in, he admitted that he had gout, and
your old way back.
He didn't want to give in, but he had to. No. So all of those years have taken the hand out of me. The chickens came home to roost.
This is it. That is the problem.
Any complementary medicines for reducing cholesterol and blood pressure? I'd be interested in this because I don't have high blood pressure. But I'm kind of in the range whereby it's kind of, now. If I calm myself down and relax and have the blood pressure on, generally speaking, the doctor doesn't think I need medication yet, right? Yeah. But I do need to up. This is Trisha's question, not mine. But I do need to up maybe my activity. But I'd be very interested also in any complementary remedies for it, because you can track it at home too. You see.
Yeah. Well, there's not. Like, to be quite honest with you, with herbal medicine for blood pressure. So, I mean, they say that, like, really the Western diet is cause of blood pressure. And, most men as we get older and women, our blood pressure goes up. Very rarely it doesn't. Now, the thing is, like, that herbs themselves will help with, like hawthorn, for example, is an excellent herb to lower blood pressure, but you're only talking about 10 points. You're not talking any more than that.
So like going from 130 to 120?
Yeah, something like that. That'd be the maximum.
But that's the difference between being pre-hypertension, or not pre-hypertension, pre-whatever, and not, though. So that's not, for a lot of people listening, that's
it's
would
helpful.
Be a decent.
But the main thing with hawthorn is that one of the wonderful things with hawthorn is that, like, it clears the arteries, keeps the arteries clear. I mean, I've seen amazing situations where people really, their arteries their plaque build-up has lessened and it keeps them clear. So it's brilliant like that. And it's a tonic to the heart as well. So it keeps the heart young, basically. But as regards to blood pressure, very mild effect, And but cholesterol is a thing that, there is quite a few things to bring cholesterol down, like, pan-sterols are great, and they can really help, and you can get that in tablet form, you can get it in butter or in things, or margarines and things.
You see it as an additive.
Yeah, as an additive, but, the tablets are better because sometimes I think because, you're taking the right amount every day, and that really has an effect.
It's not dependent on how much bread you have.
Sorry?
It's not dependent on how many breads
exactly.
Exactly.
So you have a day, and it really does. So I would always, and most doctors would concur with that. Like if you can get it down using natural methods, do well and good. That's great. And if you can't, well, that's it.
That's medicine for that too. All right, stay where you are. We're in conversation with David Foley, consultant medical herbalist. We're taking your questions on complementary medicines and remedies. Stay with us. I do have to take this short break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, with all your perfume and aftershave presents this Christmas delivered to your door, or order online and collect in store. Visit mcgees.ie.
Now, all fans of Father Ted, this one's for you. Ted & Co. The Dinner Show is coming to the Waterfront Hotel Dunlow on Saturday 21st of March. A night of hilarious Father Ted style comedy, plus a delicious 4-course dinner included. Tickets just €55. Book now at the Waterfront Hotel Dunlow. Go on, sure you will.
Maybe you're finally on a date again, 6 months after your divorce. Or maybe you and your better half are wondering whether a cuddle could be more than a cuddle. Or perhaps you'd like to tell a woman you're absolutely mad about that you don't feel like it tonight. There are lots of times and places where we need to say what we want and what we don't want. Whatever the moment, have the consent conversation.
A message from Cuan, a Government of Ireland agency.
This Christmas, wear the magic of the Donegal crest. Try the new Donegal Hydra range. Tees, polos and fleece tops. Perfect gifts for every Donegal supporter this festive season. Brian McCormick Sports. In-store or online at bmcsports.ie. Kitting out Donegal since 1995.
Make a splash this new year with Aura Swim Academy Letterkenny. Book your child's swimming lessons now for January 2026 and you could win a family holiday worth €3,500. But hurry, places are limited and the draw closes December 21st. Visit auraleisure.ie/swim. No purchase necessary to enter. Other T's and C's apply.
Relief as derogation extended for 3 years. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, find out what the terms and conditions are for farmers. Blue tongue investigation ramped up in Northern Ireland. Flight chartered to the US with emergency butter supplies. The most tax-efficient way to buy land, plus your free 2026 farming calendar. Never miss a story by getting an Irish Farmers Journal home delivery subscription. Sign up today and get a free farm bucketful of Irish Farmers Journal merchandise. Visit ifj.ie/bucket.
Christmas just got even bigger at Highland Radio. Not only could you win a brand new Renault Symbioz Techno worth over €35,000, but from December 8th to 19th, we're giving away a grand a day. If you've already bought your ticket, you're automatically in. If you haven't, now's the time to get your tickets at highlandradio.com.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
The time now is 11:20, just turning. David Foley's with me from The Natural Way, talking about complementary medicines. I'm taking blood thinners. Could I take B complex while on Eliquis?
You know, it depends a lot on the blood thinners. I really speak to the pharmacist about that, you know, because some of the blood thinners, you know, you have to be so careful with them, like warfarin and things. Like, it's a hit or miss, you know. So I would definitely maybe talk to the pharmacy is about the best.
A caller says, I started taking folic acid and beetroot juice and have suddenly developed an itch on my skin. Could the itch be related to an allergy to either of them?
It would be interesting. I mean, the only way you're going to find out that is by actually cutting them out for a couple of weeks and going back. Maybe each one individually. It could happen.
Maybe
you know?
the beetroot juice first, and
just take one and give it up for a couple of weeks, and then go back on it and see what happens. Yeah.
COPD.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a very, very serious lung condition.
Well, you know, with COPD, like there's a mushroom there called cordyceps. Okay, now you're not going to do an awful lot with obviously COPD, you know. But the thing is, like, you know, cordyceps is the most wonderful. It helps your lungs absorb more oxygen. Basically, it helps so that it maybe prevents infections as well because it helps the immune system. So it would be worth a try. 2 grams a day of cordyceps, wonderful for the lungs. Great. Cordyceps fantastic for asthma and things like that, you know, or chronic cough. But COPD, it just depends on where it's at, you know, and hopefully he'd want to do it for a month at least to see if there's any benefit, you know. But
okay. Can you ask David if he has any advice on dealing with rosacea that's causing great distress to a 28-year-old?
Oh, yeah, it's a terrible thing. Do you know, like, obviously, again, you know, food, and you can easily find out.
It's a form of acne, isn't it, rosacea?
No, not really. It's a different thing altogether. Okay. But it's like, you know, certain things that like the kind of you know, like curries and things like that, teas and coffees and things make it worse. So you search that and see what things. But, you know, funny enough, one of the things we found really good for it, you know, is echinacea. You know, so like taking echinacea, you know, 5 mils of echinacea twice a day, very good. And you know, even though it isn't acne, it still seems to help bacteria in the body. I don't know how it really works, but we found it trial and error that has worked.
Fatty liver. I've had my gallbladder removed 18 years ago.
Yeah, fatty liver, yeah. And you know, one of the great things for a fatty liver is called milk thistle. Very harmless herb, but absolutely wonderful for regeneration of liver cells. Well worth trying that out.
I've been on a heartburn tablet, Nexium, 40 milligrams for years and years. I have to take it every day and nothing can be done for me. Is there anything alternative or complementary that might help?
Yeah, it's been on a long time. If you're on a long time like that, it's very, very hard to reduce it because, you know, the acid just
that's reflux, really, they're talking about there, isn't it?
It is, you see. And what the Nexium does is it suppresses the cells that produce that acid in the stomach. And once you take away the Nexium, then the cells produce far more acid than they would have before. So it's a difficult one if you're on a long time.
I'm very interested to, you know, reassess why they're on that. You know, with your GP, this is not medical advice. Like, I've come across people who've been on that tablet for quite some time and they didn't need it.
Yeah, that's right. It'd be worthwhile to...
It's just, I mean, at what point with your bodily changes, maybe your diet, your weight, your health, at what point is it tested if you still require that dosage every single day? Yeah. Like, that's a conversation for your GP, but I wouldn't blindly presume that, you know, Just double check that, because what checks and balances have been done over the intervening years to ensure that you need to take this tablet absolutely every day.
And one of the things I say is that the Nexium watch, it suppresses those cells that produce the acid. So when you come off it, it's much worse. So you really have to have maybe there's another medication that the doctor could recommend that maybe could, gradually maybe research. But if he stops or she stops taking that now, next time she's going to have a terrible lot of acid, Okay. So she'd really but there is herbs there like slippery elm and things that soothe the stomach and cut the stomach. So while she's trying to come off it, she'd really have to go back to her GP.
And it can I mean, obviously you need to protect your esophagus, your throat.
Yeah.
It can have impact. So I'm not suggesting it at all. I would just, if you've been on it for years and years and years, is it something that you just have perpetually? I don't know. Any cure for cellulitis, the infection of the skin?
Oh, cellulitis, a nasty one too. It's a double thing. I would say echinacea again, and you can use echinacea externally. So you dilute it maybe 1 in 5 with water. It stings a bit, but very, very good. So you could dab the echinacea on the cellulitis, and also take echinacea because it will help. Now, if the immune system is often cellulitis can, but the immune system is a bit weak, so things like astragalus will help or the mushrooms like reishi can help to build up the immune system. So that's the methodology, I would say,
Cleansing the liver, a caller wants to ask.
Yeah, well, milk thistle again. Okay. Milk thistle is the number one liver cleanser.
Anxiety, OCD.
Oh, anxiety is so common nowadays. It's so common, I mean, we have things like, like peace and calm, which is valerian, basically, and this helps to ease stress a bit, it's really like, I mean, it can be complicated.
It can, and I'll tell you, acute anxiety as well, which is something I had, and I did try you never get rid of it. I did try the herbal element of it, but it's you kind of need to get to it, like I think if someone's a bit anxious going to bed or overthinking, something that's a relaxant or even something that makes people feel relaxed, but if you've got something that's acute, you can even struggle with prescription medicine with that. So it's it's complex, doesn't it? And I think
complex.
It depends on the type, on how impactful it is on your life, etc.
It is. So kind of for anxiety, like exam anxiety, things like that kind of, or whatever. These peace and calm, or it can be excellent, But if it's as you said, it's acute anxiety and a very panic attacks and things like that, it's worthwhile going to your doctor, going to a herbalist. Actually, you've seen the herbalist too, because they're actually it can be helped, but but it's complicated.
We were talking earlier on too about how that lady or gentleman who's taken the tablet for the reflux, and they're on it for a long, long time. The mind is the human mind's a very complex thing, and you can get low level over the counter prescription medicine from your GP that you don't have to take forever, because sometimes all it takes is for you to get a break from the anxiety or the OCD, and then you can understand in the most clearest way that you don't always have to have it, and then you can maybe ease off the medication and judge it from there. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can be if you have anxiety, even if it's acute, you can get a prescription medicine that might just give you the opportunity to understand that there's another way to live your life is what I would suggest. So don't be afraid of that, because sometimes they talk about antidepressants and then people go, well, I'm not antidepressant or I'm not depressed, but it's the part of the brain that it sort of blunts a little bit. It doesn't mean that you're depressed, or it won't trigger depression. But then if you go on short-term meds like Xanax or whatever, you can get bounce back anxiety from that because they affect you in a different way. So you just have to be really careful. The only thing is don't live with that. Go and have a conversation with the GP. Try a short-term medicine. And then once you can see the wood for the trees and realize your life doesn't have to be like that forever, then some of the medicines that you have in the health shop might just help maintain the person post prescription medicine. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
That's not to say it doesn't have any effect, but I'm just saying you don't have to live your life like that. Alternative HRT for women. HRT really, really important. I suppose we're talking about women pre, during, post menopause. I presume.
No, we have we've got wonderful herbal combinations for that. It actually is very effective. And the thing is with HRT, sometimes it's necessary to have HRT, but HRT does lead to other complications. So if you can try alternative or complementary medicine for that, it can be very effective, and you can get over those symptoms, and you don't have to HRT.
All right. Hi, Greg. Holistic or herbal medicine should never be known as alternative. It actually is the original. What we get from doctors are majority pharmaceutical medicines, synthetic, created in a lab, rather than natural food, herbs grown in nature. The thing is that's your point of view. We're past the point now whereby, for instance, that the fantastic work David does for a period, people would have, snake oil or whatever term.
Yeah, that's right.
Doctors now understand the benefits of the work the likes of David does. But David also understands, I'm not putting words in your mouth, the importance then of prescription measurement.
Absolutely.
And it's about, we've got past, I think, the war of words between...
one or the other. It isn't one or the other. That's why I like the word complementary, because it's complementary. We can all work together to try to make someone better. And sometimes even with all the best intention from everyone in the world, we can't, help.
Exactly. But I think that the either or, we're at a point now where we can have a very useful, hopefully, conversations for people. We didn't get to all the questions, but listen, you are there, available, as is your staff, and there are other fantastic health stores right across the county as well, down at the Natural Way, located in
the shopping centre of Letterkenny.
Okay, and you and your staff more than happy to answer any concerns people might have in person. But thank you for answering all the questions.
And happy Christmas to all their
Christmas to you, and a happy birthday to you on the 5th.
Thank you very much.
David Foley from The Natural Way. We'll be back after the break.
Gift sets by celebrity, by budget, or from the classic collection at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For the perfect present every time, visit mcgees.ie, sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
The White Handkerchief, a critically acclaimed stage production. Now, a brand new revival. Experience it at the Millennium Forum from Friday the 23rd of January until Sunday the 1st of February. We must remember. We must grieve. We must speak. millenniumforum.co.uk.
Come and enjoy the brand new menus at the Water's Edge Rathmullen. Now open 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Treat yourself to the freshly prepared dishes made with the best local produce in our stunning waterfront setting. Booking advisable on 07498915352 or via the Water's Edge Hotel Rathmullen on Facebook.
'Twas the countdown to Christmas, and all through the house, everyone wishing for a National Trust Day out. But to where, you ask? Well, tell you we will. Adventures await, pure joy, sheer thrill. Rowallan Gardens Yuletide Market returns with Mount Stewart's festive trail, great family fun. For a Georgian Christmas, it's Castle Ward, and the Argery's Twilight Market is one to look toward. So wrap up warm and you can rely. For great Christmas fun, search National Trust NI.
Make Christmas moments a little sweeter at Cost Cutter. Coca-Cola 330ml 8-pack only €7, and Diet Coke or Coke Zero 8-packs just €6 each plus deposit. Cadbury Heroes or Rose's 290-gram cartons at €6 each. Viennetta Vanilla or Mint 650ml for only €2 each. And celebrate with iHeart Prosecco Frizzante, 6 bottles for €50. Cost Cutter, the beating heart of the community. Please drink responsibly.
Put your money where your heart is this Christmas with a Strabane gift card. It's the perfect way to support local businesses and can be used in 80 plus businesses, making it the perfect gift this Christmas. So love local today. Buy the Strabane gift card at O'Neill's Sportswear, online at www.lovestrabane.com, or load your own card at SuperValue Strabane.
Have you booked your place on Highland Radio's Cavan Country Getaway at the Sleeve Russell Hotel, Monday 2nd to Thursday 5th of February? Enjoy dinner, bed and breakfast, plus live music from David James, Jimmy Buckley, Dominic Kerwin, Louise Morrissey, Sean Keane and many more. All for €495 per person sharing. Call us to book or visit highlandradio.com.
Now, our next guests on the programme are Senan Morris. Good morning, Senan.
Hello, Greg. How are you?
Thank you so much for joining us. And we also have Sean Keys. Hi, Sean.
Hello, Greg. How you doing?
Thanks so much to the pair of you for joining us. Right, okay. Atlantic Technological University successfully deployed a new smart water monitoring system in rural Uganda, a technology engineered here in County Donegal that's improving access to clean, safe water for thousands of people in communities that rely on single-hand pumps for their daily supply. So where does this story start in terms of, I suppose, identifying the problem and then working on a solution? Which came first?
Well, it turns out that one of the members of our steering committee, we both work for WISER, which is both a technology gateway and a laboratory based at ATU Donegal. And one of our steering committee was traveling in Africa, was visiting one of the wellheads, one of the boreholes, discovered they were having difficulties with it, and came from a very long career in electronics and believed that his connections back here with the WISER lab could be used to sort that problem out and to send information back about the state of the pump.
Yes, but what does it do? So does it identify if there is an issue, or does it sort of improve the quality of the water, or does it flag when the water is not of a quality to drink? Or how does it work?
Well, it's more a case, Greg, of actually monitoring the performance of the pump. So the water is the water, and irrespective of whether you lowered a container down to draw it up or used the pump, it's going to be the same water. But the pump itself is very mechanical. It's used quite a lot, and it's subject to wear and tear. And what the monitoring electronics basically does is it gives us an indication of how much the pump has been used, and it also gives us little clues as to whether different parts of the pump are likely to fail.
And maybe it's obvious. How does that then improve access to clean, safe water?
Well, typically what happens is that if a pump fails, the pump's there in the first place to provide good quality water from very deep aquifers beneath the ground. And if the pump fails and it's too expensive for the local communities to fix, they've got no real alternative but to walk for miles and hours to go and find water from the source that they used to do before the pump was
of
there.
A lesser quality potentially as well.
Far lesser quality, and that leads to all sorts of things like sickness, and school kids don't attend school because of the poor quality water. So the knock-on effect is huge.
Senan, you are a WISER research engineer, but you also, if I'm correct, were in Uganda to oversee the installation. So I suppose, what can you tell us about the situation that you come across, and also, what you left behind you, if that makes sense?
Yeah, Greg, I've been lucky enough to travel out to Uganda twice in the past 2 years now. And look, when you first arrive out there, you first realize that, look, it's a fairly underdeveloped country, beautiful country, lovely, friendly people. But once these boreholes stop working, life is very, very difficult for the communities out there. Now, as Sean was saying earlier, they have to resort back to going to get the water from previous sources, and look, it isn't a pretty sight. Some of the places that they have to go retrieve water from, they have to go retrieve it from surface spring wells, which are full of E. coli, full of all different types of bacteria. And on top of that as well, it's predominantly women that go to lift the water, and they be carrying 25 liter drums in their right hand, 25 liter drums in their left hand, and they're also, which is quite impressive to see, carry one in their head as well. And on top of that, they could be carrying a child on their back and a child on their front. So look, what we've delivered gives us an opportunity to see, detect if any issues are arising in the borehole before the pump shuts down.
And Senan, the pump presumably is the pump, right? So it's very mechanical, and you have developed a software solution. So how complicated was it to get the two technologies, if I could put it like that, to talk to each other effectively?
Well, first of all, I would have to give the dues to the two engineers that developed this. First, now, I was only the installation engineer and overseeing the installation and the testing, but it was Shane McCrossan, who's in the room beside me, who's too shy to come on there, so he was, and Martin Bradley, who's a lecturer. Look, there was quite some time put into this. There was a few revisions, I mean, this has been long in the works, maybe the past 5, 6 years. The guys did great work in retrofitting the existing electronics into the pump. So look, it was difficult. There was a lot of research put into how we measured certain parameters. So we're looking at water volume. We're measuring the amount of strokes, and it's a small solar-powered, battery-powered device. And it's amazing from those few parameters that you're measuring what you can tell about what's happening in the pump.
Sean, it went from obviously research to reality, right, and has been installed on the ground. But I presume, is there an appetite or interest at this point to roll this out to other, pumping points, for an example, so that the authorities in the area can sort of access the network of pumps if it exists like that? I'm sort of imagining what it might be like. It's not from a knowledge position, Sean.
Yeah, well, you're asking a very pertinent question. It does take time. The original number of units that we popped out there, Greg, was quite small. Then, as Sam said, we've got 10 now that are active in the field. The next step would be to go up in multiples of 10. So we would see hundreds going out in the next wave. And there is that critical tipping point where if the technology is robust enough and if it has proven itself at scale to work, and most importantly, if you can get the cost per unit down, because as you would imagine, it's quite expensive to turn out small volumes of these. Once we get to an attractive price point and a robust technology, then it's pretty much easier to receive a green light.
I must ask, because it's my curiosity is getting the better of me. How does this device communicate?
That's another excellent question. The device is monitoring the pump every second, but it only phones home once an hour. So it's gathering all the information. It's been very thrifty with the electricity on board. Even though it's solar powered, we like to have it operating at a very low power draw whilst it's operational. Then every hour, it phones home via the mobile phone network in Africa, and that information goes straight to the cloud. So just in the same way that the water is going into containers, the data is going into a data container on the cloud.
Obviously, for monitoring purposes and to make sure everything's working, you get to monitor that as well. It must be quite interesting to be sitting in an office in Letterkenny and getting all, to all intents and purposes, real-time updates of the usage of a pump in rural Uganda.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, Greg, because everybody fancies themselves now as expert data scientists. So as soon as something interesting happens, we're getting all sorts of phone calls to say, "Oh, I see pump number 7's misbehaving itself," or is the charging working on pump number 8? So yeah, it is correct. It's you're talking about thousands of kilometers away, and that information is just coming onto the screen to us in Donegal, and indeed anybody else that has the link.
Can you tinker with the software? Can you over-air updates?
Yeah, well, at the moment we do quite a lot of work on the back end and the front end of the software. On the actual firmware that exists on the devices, the next batch of devices that will go out will have over-the-air capabilities. But in order just to keep the cost down and in order to meet our timeline targets, we just went in this phase with a single firmware. And that firmware has been developed right through all the different versions that we have put out into the field.
All right, Shannon, the experience of being over there, it gives you a great insight, isn't it? Because you can create the software here, you can create the hardware, you can create the infrastructure and how it's powered and all that type of stuff. But it's only really, I suppose, when you get down on the ground and you see it installed and you get a sense of, what's actually, how people are living there, but also how technology can come from here to there and make their water supply, their clean water supply, more reliable.
That's it, Greg. It's only when you go out there that you see the difference it's making, and you see how these people are relying so heavily on water and how appreciative they are that you're out here doing this work for them. So, it makes you, I was going to say very proud Donegal man, but he's a Derry man there. But, well, they accept him as a Donegal man.
They never want to be accepted. So in my experience of Derry people is they're very happy with where they're from, even if they're here for 40 years. So I don't think we're going to win him over, Sean, are we?
No, well, I've got the Donegal passport, Greg.
But you're a Derry man.
Yeah, it makes you very proud to know that work that was carried out here in Letterkenny's having such a lasting impact for the people of Uganda. So
brilliant stuff. Okay, and like all good technologies, I presume it can be sort of repurposed down the line to meet other needs as well. Listen, brilliant stuff, lads. Thanks so very much indeed. Senan Morris, Wizar research engineer, Sean Keys, software lead. Both of you, thank you very much indeed for your time today. Greatly appreciated.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks for having us, Greg.
And a big hello to the shy ones as well. Okay, look after yourselves. Thanks very much indeed. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number there. If you want to comment on that or anything that we've been talking about, or 07491 25,000. Card scams, a caller says, time we dumped the cards and went back to the cash full time. But listen, pickpockets, fake notes, there's cash scams left, right and centre. Money being stolen from under the beds in your house, from the cereal box in your kitchen. We're talking about, this is almost separate to the cash digital thing, because people get done out of cash and have been done out of cash since we were going back and dealing with gold. So I don't believe, and then we become sitting ducks in our own homes if we have a distrust of banks. And but so I agree with you. I understand where you're coming from, but just life is a little bit more blooming complex than that. All right, back with the last segment after these.
Chanel, Flower Bomb, Lancôme, Giorgio Armani, Paco Rabanne. Where else but at McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny, this Christmas. Sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
Brian McCormick here to let you know we're celebrating 30 years, supporting every match, mile and movement with you. We opened in 1995, so when you spend €30 or more, we'll give you a 1995 voucher to use off your next purchase. From sports footwear to your local football top, we've got everything to keep you moving, and this is our way of saying thank you. Here's to the next 30 years.
Here at Braden's House Home Interiors, we would like to turn your house into a home this year. We have a wide range of furniture and flooring for all your needs in both our Moville store and our Bridgend store. We offer a free delivery service to the whole Northwest, and we won't be beaten on price. Both stores have easy parking, so for all your quality furniture and flooring at a great price, call into Braden's Furniture Moville or Bridgend now.
Some say it's the look of wonder on the children's faces. Some say it's catching up with old friends, while others say it's family gathering around the table. And you know what? They're right. It's all of this and more that makes Christmas, along with plenty of Avonmore cream. Our freshest cream, including seasonal flavours perfect for the festivities. Don't forget the Avonmore cream, the cream that makes Christmas.
At Super Value, get Super Value Signature Taste Hampshire Ham 1.4 kilo, only $10.99. Super Value Smoked Salmon 300 gram, now half price. And with Real Rewards, get the Ned and Oyster Bay Sauvignon Blanc wine case deal, now €50. Check your rewards app for vouchers and make it a Christmas with a difference at Super Value. Please drink responsibly.
Welcome to Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms in Donegal Town. Discover affordable luxury with our bespoke fitted furniture solutions. With almost 30 years of serving Ireland and the Northwest, we're your trusted experts. Visit us Monday to Friday 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. and on Saturdays from 9 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. Book your free consultation today on 074 9725822 or visit cherrymore.ie. Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, where affordability and luxury combine.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhinney's. Find Christmas inspiration for everyone, from top beauty gifts to perfect last-minute ideas. Visit us in Ballybuffet to explore the full range or shop online anytime at mcelhinneys.com.
Right, so the weather forecast, I can tell you that it'll be cloudy today with outbreaks of rain and drizzle from the west, though they will clear eastwards and will be doing so from now on, with brighter spells developing later in the evening. Temperatures of 9 to 11 degrees in fresh to strong and gusty southwesterlies. The Central Executive Committee member of the INTO, Anya McGinley, joins him now. Anya, thank you for your time and good morning.
Good morning, Greg, and thanks for having me on the show.
Right, so the Department of Children has said that the Department of Education and Youth would shortly agree a new process to remove the professional assessment of need reports. This for children who wish to enter special classes and special schools. So what would be the situation up until now, Anya, just so people who wouldn't be in the loop understand exactly what we're talking about?
Yeah, so Greg, what happens currently is an assessment of need is carried out to diagnose disability and to identify health and educational needs in children. So heretofore, teachers have been integral in this to complete the forms along with the parents, because this is a parent-initiated system, to fill out the forms with regards to educational needs of the children. And what the reason for this is to identify educational needs in the children, but also with signposting them towards supports. Now, the problem has been that there is currently 18,000 cases waiting in the system, waiting to be heard. And there is also a lack of supports there in terms of therapeutic supports, counselling supports, and of course this long additional waiting list. But schools have been integral in supporting parents with identifying needs for their children, and as I said, trying to identify and signpost supports available to them.
Now,
be it
some
in
might
terms
say
of special classes or special schools.
Yep.
That's a part of the process.
Okay, Anya, some might say, look, this is an easy way to distract from a conversation about 18,000 children awaiting assessment, or it might say, look, with the best will in the world, the system we currently employ has led to 18,000 children for an assessment. Maybe there is a better way to do it. Is it fair to criticise it before we have a look at the new process?
Well, I think the problem that we're having with it at the moment, Greg, is that the Minister announced this on Tuesday, but has not consulted with any of the relevant stakeholders, hasn't consulted with parents, hasn't consulted with the educational staff that are involved in this, hasn't consulted with the unions, and we have no idea what it is going to be replaced with. So they've left everybody up high in the sky because we don't know what is going to come. If they replace this with something else, they have said to us that it is going to be replaced with something by next September, but we have no idea what that something is going to be.
And what might that process of determining eligibility for special education might actually be? Do you know what I mean? Because if there are resources there, we have to ensure that those that need them get them, but they're not misplaced either.
Absolutely. But the thing is, we have a system in place currently, and while there is a massive waiting list for that, the difficulty is we don't know what it's going to be replaced with, so we don't know what the new system is going to look like, so we don't know if the children will get the supports that they're meant to be getting. We've heard over the last 2 years through the media, and not through the government, that they're going to have additional staffing teams. We don't know where those staffing teams are going to come out of, because we know currently staff in schools know that the current system isn't working, but we know that the support services are not there. Any supports that parents are getting for their children at the minute, they have to fight hammer and tongue to get. So I don't know where they're going to get these additional support systems for these children with a different system, because it's not those support systems aren't available with the current system either.
It doesn't make for a great working relationship, because, you know, outside of parents and guardians, some of the greatest advocates for highlighting, I suppose, supports for children with special needs not being where they need to be are teachers. And then you have them sort of, you know, finding out third-hand information that has a direct impact on the kind of sort of care and education that they can give. It's not a great way of doing business when you're making decisions with zero consultation with one of your key partners.
Well, this is the thing, and we, as I said to you, Greg, we heard about this through the media. We didn't hear about this. The department and INTO would have regular meetings, and this has never come up at a meeting. So when we heard about it through the media on Tuesday, we thought there must be an error in the system, there must be an error in the message, and then to discover, yes, this is actually what the minister has announced, and she just said there'll be something else in place come next September, and we have absolutely no idea what it is. So in fairness, I've had members contact me asking me, surely something has come up in your conversations with the department, and I've had to say no, we have no idea. And I've also had parents who I be friendly with, who've got children with special needs, saying, well, do I continue with this current assessment of need process, or do I not? Because we know now come next September it's going to be replaced with something else. And I just don't have the answers for people at the moment. It's very, very frustrating.
Yeah, okay. And I think they're looking also perhaps at how assessment is carried out outside of this kind of school environment in other spaces. But Anya, listen, we appreciate your views and those of the INTO. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Greg, and hopefully I will have some clarity for you soon.
Yeah, for sure. We're in a clarity vacuum, both of us. Okay, thank you, Anya McGinley, Chief Executive Committee Member of the INTO. It's a complicated area because the departments are saying that, because of the system the way it is, parents are trying to go to other services to get, it's very complex. And even some of the groups and individuals that are representing parents of these children are still trying to ascertain precisely what all is going on, because we had that announcement, didn't we, of 44 three-person assessment of need teams to be deployed around the country. But of course that has to be delivered as well. So we're all kind of trying to find out more information before people take a particular stance on certain things. No, Greg, the LED headlights are blinding and I suspect are contributing to collisions at night on narrow roads. It's ridiculous how bright they are. The other distraction is the touchscreen infotainment systems, but it's too easy to blame the drivers than to address other issues relating to accidents like the four I mentioned and the state of the infrastructure. I love my technology and I love as much technology in the cars as possible, but I do have to check myself because personally, if you start using your touch screen in the center console, I, for one, dependent on where, and it's dependent on how far I sit, I'm reaching and leaning and I'm trying to do it without looking. And it's equally as distracting as a mobile phone. Equally distracted because you still really, if you do it as it's designed, have to take your eyes off the road to address it. And I've kind of tried to bring that up over the last couple of years and with sort of road safety experts, and no one's really to be honest with you, no one's really taken me on. Correction, it's 5 years of social media history, the email you've used for 10 years and names of close relatives and where they live. And if you delete any of that, it's destroying evidence. A US citizen was just locked up yesterday by the FBI for just doing this. Read presents for teachers. As a primary teacher, I do not expect a gift. The children are the gift, but I do appreciate it and held onto every card I've ever received. That's what really means something, isn't it? Listen, thanks. It's great to get the feedback from teachers. Because of this show is on, often when teachers are at work, you kind of feel you're talking about them and not to them. So I always do welcome, very much so, by the way, the feedback from teachers when they can do so. Okay, that's where we leave it on the show for another day. We're back tomorrow morning and it's a cracking Friday show. We have the Friday panel, of course, and so much more besides. So please come